Chapter-701-Black Market Head Trading Camp. The stunned Xiao Ai stared at Lu Han with jaw-dropping eyes, not even taking precautions. In fact, his precautions were useless. With Lu Han's strength, he could fight anytime, anywhere, and he was powerless to fight back. How? Are you afraid? Lu Leng raised his eyebrows at Xiao Ai with a smile. You. What are you? How? How can you? You. Xiao Ai can't speak anymore. Of course I learned from you. Lu Han showed a treacherous smile. What do you think I'm playing with you for? You think you can learn from me and take advantage of me? Humph. Raiden Thunder Style. Check the carrot mode is just a special way of using Raiden Thunder Style chakra. I have seen you perform this technique on me every day for half a month. Do you think that with my talent, you can't learn it? Ha ha ha. When it was over, Lu Han let out a weird laugh, making Xiao Ai go crazy. You are shameless. You bastard. You stealthily learned the secrets of our Kumogakure. You. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Xiao Ai shouted angrily, her mad eyes full of yuhi. You secretly learned from me, I secretly learned from yours, isn't it even? Lu Han said with a handful of mastery, besides, I learned this technique through observation, not from your Kumogakure. I can't figure out the method of cultivation myself. You guys, Kumogakure, are too overbearing, right? Han Guang, you are shameless. Shameless. Xiao Ai screamed and rushed towards Lu Han, looking like he was going to tear Lu Han alive. Lu Han is also in Raiden Thunder Style chakra mode, coupled with his terrifying basic abilities, his speed and agility have skyrocketed. When Xiao Ai hit him, he didn't fight back, he just tried his best to avoid it. Forgot to enlarge the move, it was just a punch and foot attack, even if the strength was different from before, even Lu Han's clothes Kakuzu could not be touched. The two fought for another morning, and Xiao Ai was exhausted. Tsunade appeared at the door of the main building and greeted the two to eat. Hearing this, Lu Han quickly distanced himself from Xiao Ai and stopped. Go, your injury is healed. Go back to Kumogakure, don't stay here. For Lao Ai's face, I'm not embarrassed you, don't force me to do something to you. Xiao Ai was covered in sweat and looked at Lu Han with sadness and indignation. Big loss. He did learn some skills from Lu Han, but Kumogakure's housekeeping skills were stolen by Lu Han, and he didn't know how to explain to his father when he went back. He felt very powerless because he couldn't beat Lu Han. Although his strength had grown recently, he still had a huge gap with Hengguang. He knew that. It's dinner, don't linger. Tsunade appeared at the door again and told the two of them to eat. Lu Han turned around and walked into the main building, ignoring Xiao Ai. No, I can't just leave like this, shameless cold light. I just learned some fur from him, and he stole the Raiden Thunder Style chakra pattern. Xiao Ai rolled her eyes and looked at Tsunade, have a plan in mind. When no one was paying attention, he slammed a fist on his chest, spurted blood donation, and shouted, Master Tsunade, whoops, come and see, my injury seems to have recurred again. Tsunade, who was standing at the door, saw Xiao Ai's actions in his eyes, and was speechless for a while. When she walked out of the main building and passed by Lu Han, she tilted her head and gave Lu Han a strange look. Tsunade was already extremely contemptuous of Lu Han's behavior of bullying the silly boy. Lu Han went back to the house to eat, and after a while, Tsunade, who had checked Xiao Ai's injuries, also entered the house. Xiao Ai followed behind, without looking at Lu Han, and came to the table to eat. Lu Han wanted to say something, but Tsunade stopped him. Xiao Ai saw everything in her eyes, and felt grateful to Tsunade. Tsunade really felt guilty for helping Lu Han to deceive the silly boy, which was not what she wanted. In the afternoon, Xiao Ai used aggressive tactics to demean Lu Han again, prompting Lu Han to fight against him. According to the plan, Xiao Ai planned to leave this afternoon, but now he has changed his mind, and it can be delayed for a day. At dusk. Boom. Roar resounded throughout Konoha, not from inside the Konoha village, but from the forest in the south outside the village. Lu Han, who was fighting with Xiao Ai, secretly said, No, and disappeared into the courtyard. Xiaoai didn't have the skills of Lu Han and couldn't keep up with Lu Han's speed, but he could hear where the sound came from and ran away immediately. Anbu Ninja didn't stop him, he just followed him, but he couldn't catch up at all. Xiaoai in Raiden Thunder style chakra mode is extremely fast. There are not many who stabilize his head. Outside Konoha village, South Forest. In the makeshift camp, there was already chaos. Several ninjas in different costumes moved back and forth to kill in the camp. Many Konoha ninjas and black market killers were slaughtered. This camp is a black market head trading camp, established as a result of the black market output plan. It is where Konoha uses to acquire black market ninja heads. Anyone who kills black market ninjas, no matter who they are or what forces they belong to, even if it is Kurigakure, Omegakure ninjas, and even Konoha missing nin, can come here and take out black market ninja heads or corpses in exchange for bounties. The camp has been established for more than half a month. Since the news that Han Guang robbed the Kurigakure treasure house has spread, there have been many ninjas who have come to give people their heads. There are real and fake ones. Lu Han has the ability to distinguish between mistakes. Yes, in Lu Han's eyes, the corpse of the ninja will not show its strength, but it will have the identity information before death. However, Lu Han couldn't do everything himself. Those in power should be good at employing people. Therefore, Lu Han did not sit here and personally identify the real and fake heads one by one, but sent some ninjas who had contact with the black market to identify them. Konoha also bought a few black market killers to take a commission. Way for them to discern here. Lu Han had long thought that the black market might fight back, and this camp was very likely to be attacked. For this reason, in addition to setting up 2 ninja battalions here, he also ordered White Fang to visit the camp frequently. The camp was attacked after all. Lu Han appeared out of thin air and glanced at the 3 black market ninjas who were slaughtering. All of them were black market ninjas. It's all super elite Jonin. Chapter-702-Tear Dragon. White Fang is not in the camp, and White Fang, the captain of Anbu, doesn't need to sit here in person, not to mention that he has the status of a consultant now. Lu Han just asked him to visit often, not to let him 10-10 guard here. If White Fang was there, it is estimated that the black market ninja would not dare to do it. Lu Han saw 3 black market Yuhi names in action. The battle had just begun. Lu Han came directly with the technique of Hiraishin. Therefore, many people on Konoha's side were injured, but not many died. In the camp, except for Konoha ninjas, black market killers hired by Konoha, the rest were all ninjas who came to give away their heads. There were 7 or 8. Because identification is a very complicated matter, the ninja who sent the head needs to provide enough evidence, and Konoha also needs to confirm the authenticity of the evidence, which will consume a lot of time, and there are always people who fish in troubled waters and send dummy heads that do not belong to black market ninjas. Therefore, although Konoha can receive 10 or 20 people every day, there are not many people who can really confirm that they are black market ninjas. Damn, Lu Han scolded in a low voice. Blood fog filled his body, turned into blood, and Yuhi lightning attacked and killed the black market ninja. Sarutobi Tarzan was desperate. As the squadron commander of the Konoha garrison army, he was also considered a master of Jonin's strength. He was sent to be stationed in the trading camp. He thought it was a very pleasant job. Although Lord White Fang always came to inspect, it made him have to cheer up, but it was much more comfortable than the previous dark post work. Unexpectedly, this camp, which is very close to Konoha village, would be suddenly attacked. The gray-haired old man was originally here to give away people's heads. Who would have thought that he would suddenly violently kill people? No one could resist his blow, and before the team of ninjas stationed here even had time to jointly launch ninjutsu, he was dispersed with futon wind-style ninjutsu. Sarutobi Taishan dodged in embarrassment. He wanted to distance himself and used ninjutsu to fight back, but he didn't expect the old man to come directly to him. Damn it! Sarutobi Tarzan stopped retreating and drew out his long knife, intending to fight the gray-haired old man for his life. The gray-haired old man was wielding a huge shuriken. The shuriken was spinning rapidly in his hand, approaching Mount Sarutobi, and he threw the spinning shuriken with a flick of his hand, attacking the front door of Mount Sarutobi. Sarutobi Taishan waved his knife to resist, but when he heard the sound of shattering, he felt a chill in his heart, knowing that his knife was broken. It's over. Sarutobi Tarzan's heart was ashes. Right at this moment, bloody Yuhi flashed with lightning, passing by the gray-haired old man's side, like a sword flash, but Sarutobi Taishan didn't see it clearly. He only saw the huge shuriken flying in front of his eyes, and it was about to split. Own head, and then stop. Huh, why did it stop? Lu Han, covered in blood fog, appeared in front of Sarutobi Taishan. His left hand firmly grasped the huge shuriken, and there was still an inch left, and the huge shuriken was about to slash on Sarutobi Taishan's face. So close. Are you okay? Lu Han tilted his head and asked. Sarutobi Taishan was startled and forgot to answer Lu Han. Survived. Lord Hengguang saved me. Back off. Lu Han said again, then dodged and disappeared. Until Lu Han disappeared, the gray-haired old man who was a few meters in front of Sarutobi Taishan had blood on his neck. He kept throwing the shuriken with one hand. His head fell first, and then the headless corpse fell softly on the ground. Lu Han first killed the one with the lowest strength rating, which was the level 50 bronze boss, and the remaining two were both level 50 white silvers. In fact, the three of them were rated very close. They were all S-rank ninjutsu, and they were all dead men. So the destructive power is about the same. Lu Han naturally wants to kill the easy one first. Cove Light is coming. Quick. There are two remaining black market ninjas. One is a bald man in his 40s, and the other is a short and thin old man in his 60s. Since Konoha has set the rule that selling heads must show their true faces, they do not wear masks. In fact, they didn't plan to leave alive, so naturally they don't care about letting people see their true colors. When the two saw Lu Han's appearance, they immediately killed the gray-haired companion. They all gave up the enemy in front of them in fright and quickly moved together. There were endless screams in the camp, many ninjas were wounded, several camps were burning, thick smoke billowed, and blood filled the air. You guys are so brave. Lu Han was furious and quickly approached the two of them. The bald man and the slender old man did not talk nonsense. After flashing together, the hand seal was very complicated and was not completed immediately. Both of them wanted to release S-rank ninjutsu, one Kaiden fire style and one Futon wind style. From the chakra fluctuations emitted by the two hand seals, Lu Han could judge the attributes, and he also understood, once the joint release of the two of them is successful, it will inevitably spread to the entire camp and destroy everything. Wind helps fire. Fire up the wind. The combination of Futon wind style and Kaiden fire style, the power of double S-rank ninjutsu, is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. This naturally poses no threat to Lu Han. However, there were other ninjas in the camp, 2 battalions of Konoha ninjas, nearly 400 people, because they had not received a clear order to retreat. Most of them were in the camp and wanted to besiege the two. Lu Han didn't want to see the tragic destruction of the camp. He could resist with ninjutsu, but the shock wave that erupted was even more terrifying. He could also resist with Susanoo or Rashomon, but he could only resist in one direction. The other direction is bound to be devastated. Damn, they didn't want to get out of here alive. Lu Han stopped, quickly relieved the state of anger and blood, and entered the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode again, and then burst into flames. Kaiden fire style Dragon Fire Bomb. Futon wind style Super Harm. The bald man and the slender old man spit out wind, and the other spit fire. The fire dragon and the hurricane appeared at the same time. Seeing that they were about to merge together, they burst into even greater power, but they saw a blue lightning rush directly into the fire dragon, and they met the fire dragon. The flames enough to melt the rock ripped apart the fire dragon and passed by in a flash. The fire dragon was swept away before it swelled to ultimate. The blue lightning directly killed the short and thin old man, bombarding it with an elbow. Ninjutsu. Heavy flow. The short and thin old man was torn apart under the attack of the heavy current storm as if it had exploded. At the same time, Xiaoai rushed to the camp and watched Lu Han defeat the S-rank ninjutsu and kill the short and thin old man. Chapter 0703 _ How could it be so fast? Camp was destroyed after all. Futon wind style is the strongest ninjutsu in destroying the environment. Compared with flooding, the wind destroys more thoroughly. Compared with fire, the wind destroys a larger area. As for Raiden thunder style, mostly melee ninjutsu or single attack ninjutsu, and it cannot be compared with Futon wind style. However, although the camp was destroyed, not many ninjas were killed or injured. Bald Man releasing Futon wind style was to expand the scope of the fire. As a result, the S-level Kaiden fire style ninjutsu released by the short and thin old man was defeated by Lu Han before it could burst into power. It is no exaggeration to kill it in the bud. The 2 battalions of ninjas stationed in this camp are all elites. The battalion leader and the leader's assistant have elite Jonin strength. In the face of S-rank Futon wind style, they also considered that if they retreated, their subordinates would be afraid. There were more casualties, so they all chose to block with ninjutsu. Seeing that Lu Han killed the short and thin old man with Kaiden fire style on his back, the bald man was horrified and retreated away from Lu Han. At the same time, the hand seal was divided into 9, and the 9 bald men rushed in different directions. From the rippling Futon wind style chakra on his body, it can be judged that the clone ninjutsu he uses is of the Futon wind style attribute. The insight map showed that very few teammates had disappeared with blue dots, which made Lu Han relieved. After all, people will die in war, but how many people die is a big issue. If Konoha kills too many ninjas this time, Lu Han's black market eradication plan will be questioned, and the arrogance of the black market will become more arrogant, and those swaying black market killers will also despise Konoha, not only will not go again. Harvest the heads of black market ninjas, and may even continue to be hired by the black market to kill Konoha ninjas. The impact is manifold. The 9 bald-headed men ran wildly around. He didn't look like he wanted to escape, but to kill some more people. Lu Han's eyes turned to Mangekyo, and he immediately saw the flaw. He accurately found the real body of the bald man, then turned into blue lightning and chased away. How is it possible to be so fast? How is it possible? He can actually dispel S-rank ninjutsu, and the Raiden thunder style chakra mode can also be used like this. A look of shock. Lu Han has refreshed his cognition. He felt that his brain was not enough. How could it be so fast? Naturally so fast. Raikage at the peak of the original work. His speed comes from the base speed and activation bonus. His base speed is 2 pervert, which is why he is fast. However, in Xiaoai's eyes, this is not the case. Xiaoai doesn't know what the basic speed of Lu Han is in normal state. He believes that the reason why Lu Han is so fast is because of the Raiden thunder style chakra mode. Of course it is true. Lu Han's speed at the moment is obtained by relying on the Raiden thunder style chakra mode bonus. Xiaoai watched Lu Han catch up with the bald man's real body, and the 2 sides fought for a round. This time when Lu Han fired the knife, the terrifying light of the knife was like a waterfall, and the bald man's flesh and blood flew into the sky in an instant. Blood rained. Ha, ha, Lu Han gasped a little after he stopped. The fighting time was short, but Lu Han felt tired. Because Lu Han broke out his ultimate combat power without affecting others, he wanted to kill the 3 super elite Jonin as quickly as possible. He understood that since these 3 dared to come, there would be no the plan to leave alive. They are not afraid of death, they just want to cause more casualties. In this case, 1 more second of their life, Konoha could have killed and injured a few more people. The battle is over. After Lu Han appeared, he killed 3 powerful attackers one after another. All 3 of them deserve the name of the strong, but they were not Lu Han's combined enemies. Lord Cold Light. Lord Cold Light. Lord Cold Light. Cold Light. Cold Light. Cold Light. Cold Light. Cold Light. I don't know who was the first to cheer, and more people joined in the shouts, gradually connecting and becoming tidy. Luhan turned around and looked at the surrounding Konoha ninjas, looking at the excited and reverent eyes. The corners of his mouth raised a subtle arc, and he raised his hand with a solemn expression. The shouting stopped abruptly, and the needles fell silently around. Clean up the battlefield, count the casualties, and rebuild the camp. Luhan ordered. Not long after, multiple medical teams arrived at the ruined camp, and White Fang, Inuzuka Tears and others also came. According to the casualty statistics, 3 foreign ninjas who came to sell human heads died and 5 were injured, making a total of 8. They are all among the casualties. For the black market, they are a greater threat than the Konoha ninjas, because they understand the black market and have the ability to hurt the black market. In Konoha, 13 people were killed, 29 people were seriously injured, and 144 people were slightly injured. The loss is not too big, that is, more than half of the 2 brigade casualties. It is not very pleasant to say. The destructive power of the strong is so terrifying. With the strength of the 3 super elites, it is enough to cause a large number of casualties to a 1,000-person army without the strong. If Luhan hadn't arrived in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Luhan comforted the wounded ninjas, and personally healed several seriously wounded and dying ninjas. Then, he handed over the aftermath to Inuzuka Lei and White Fang, and returned to Konoha village. Meeting. Luhan decided at the meeting to increase the hunting price of black market ninjas, especially for the heads of high-level ninjas and cage-level ninjas, and the price will be doubled directly. He put out another 100 million taels to add to the planned budget. There is no way, just have money. Anyway, it was all the money that was stolen, so Luhan didn't feel bad. Time flies. 9 days later. Xiaoai finally said goodbye officially and will take the envoy back to the border camp, because in 2 days, Luhan will duel with Lao Ai. Before leaving, Xiaoai said harshly to Luhan, "Despicable cold light, I'll come back for teaching." Luhan didn't say a word, flipping through Byakugan's expression of, "Get out of here, I'm going to be bored to death by you," and Xiaoai shouted angrily. Kumogakure camp outside the border of the Land of Fire. Xiaoai found Lao Ai, and after greeting each other, Xiaoai said angrily, "That despicable and shameless cold light, stealthily learned the Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode." Chapter-704-Despicable Cold Light. Although Lao Ai is a strict father, he really cares about this son. It can be seen from the fact that he avenged Xiaoai and entered the Kurigakure First Army alone. He is not a common favorite for Xiaoai. Lao Ai was naturally happy when his son came back, but he didn't expect to hear the bad news. Hangguang stole the study. Lao Ai had a dark face and frowned. How did he steal the study? Could it be that someone took the practice scroll to Konoha? Was it seen by Hangguang? It's not, father. It's like this, that. Xiaoai suddenly became vague, as if it was hard to say. That is, he learned it after watching the child use the Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode. Bullshit. Lao Ai shouted angrily. No matter how talented and evil he is, he can't learn it after you use it a few times. Could it be copied with Sharingan? It's impossible. Sharingan can't be copied. You have already the Raiden Thunder-style chakra can be covered all over the body and used freely, and the training difficulty is already S-level. Quote. That, actually, Xiaoai was a little afraid to say. Seeing his son's appearance, Lao Ai realized that his son was hiding something from him, and scolded him with a black face. "Come on, what's going on?" "It's the boy was caught in the trap of Hangguang." Xiaoai drooped his head and said, "Hangguang said he apologized to me and asked me to hit him, but he didn't fight back." Naturally, the boy would not let this opportunity go, but he always dodged. And always use words to stimulate the child. The child is not stimulated, he will look for him again and again, trying to hit him, and again, the child often uses the Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode in front of him. Lao Ai looked at his son with a startled expression. "This sounds too weird. You 10-10 hit him. He won't fight back. Let you chase after him." "Yes, he just doesn't fight back, sometimes he defends." How long? Every day. How long is each day? That is, since the child's injury has recovered 7, 8, he has been looking for him every day, adding up to the morning and afternoon, 8 or 9 hours a day, more than 20 days. Lao Ai opened his mouth and stared at his son with a drooping head. He didn't know what to say. According to Xiao Ai, it is not difficult to understand that Han Guang can stealthily learn the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode, because Han Guang is not only a genius, but also has a Sharingan, so he can see how the chakra in Xiao Ai works. Lao Ai was in a panic. Not because the Raiden Thunder style chakra pattern was stolen, but because he began to doubt his son's IQ. Silly. Lao Ai never felt that his son was stupid before, but now he is very worried. Even an idiot should see that Han Guang was able to do something like being beaten voluntarily, and insisted on it for more than 20 days. There must be a purpose. Why didn't your son see it? What Lao Ai didn't know was that Xiao Ai had concealed from him that Han Guang was instructing him. If this matter was included, Lao Ai would definitely not feel that his son was stupid, but unfortunately Xiao Ai dared not say it. After all, his current practice, he has already left the growth path that Lao Ai planned for him. Despicable and shameless Han Guang, do you still want your face? Do you want your face? Lao Ai couldn't help but yell, you're the most powerful person in the ninja world, the leader of a village, and you actually bullied my son. Actually speaking, Lao Ai is not very concerned about Hengguang stealing the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode, because Hengguang learned it by talent, not by stealing scrolls, not by coercion, and more importantly, Hengguang's strength. He is too strong and has a lot of abilities. The Raiden Thunder style chakra mode he just learned can't improve his strength much. Of course, this is all Lao Ai's own idea. He has no idea how much improvement the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode can bring to Lu Han. From another point of view, Konoha Taijutsu ninjas are extremely rare, and there are even fewer Grandmaster Raiden Thunder style, so Raiden Thunder style chakra mode flow out to Konoha, it will not have much impact. What makes Lao Ai really unacceptable is that Han Guang actually lied to his son. Let your son be wronged. Old I can't bear it. I don't blame you for this, but blame Han Guang for being too shameless and treacherous. Han Guang is not a taijutsu ninja. He stealthily learned Raiden Thunder style chakra mode, probably not to improve his strength, but to insult you. Lao Ai, after comforting his son a few words, he got up and said angrily, don't worry, after 2 days, my father will definitely avenge you. Father must teach him a hard lesson. Xiao Ai suddenly regained his energy, raised his head and bit Kiba's teeth. It's best to let the child beat him with his own hands, to vent the hatred in the child's heart. Lao Ai looked at his son with strange eyes. He felt that his son had changed, but he couldn't be sure exactly where it had changed. It seems that the attitude towards the cold light is a bit strange. Can you beat your hatred by yourself? If it was Lao Ai who was played and humiliated like this, it would definitely be murderous. You haven't hit him for so many days? Lao Ai asked. No. Xiao Ai lowered his head again, if his defensive block is not counted, not once. Lao Ai knew it. It seemed that his son was obsessed, so he wanted to take a cold light. Thinking of this, Lao Ai couldn't help but hate Han Guang even more. In his opinion, Han Guang is not only joking and insulting his son, he is also attacking his son's confidence. Soft knife kills people, so vicious, his heart can be punished. 2 days later. On this day, the weather was sunny, and the End Valley was crowded with people. It was originally a sea of people, and there were many people who wanted to watch the Battle of Focus, but with the arrival of all Konoha Anbu, Konoha White Fang Hataki Sakumo came in person, the onlookers scattered as birds and beasts, and the entire End Valley also disappeared. Calmed down. Neither Lu Han nor Lao Ai wanted this battle to be watched, in order to prevent other forces from knowing their full strength, and also for fear of being taken advantage of, so the Valley of the End was completely blocked, and it was naturally Konoha who blocked it, because the Valley of the End is in the Land of Fire. Lu Han refused the request of Tsunade and others to go with him, went alone, and arrived at the End Valley half a day later than Anbu. This afternoon, the sun was shining brightly. Lao Ai had come a long time ago, standing on the open rocky ground with a sturdy body on his back, his arms crossed his chest and his face gloomy. Lu Han appeared out of thin air, holding a knife and looking at Lao Ai. The two supreme powerhouses were about to duel, and the atmosphere suddenly became tense. "Do you want a face?" Lao Ai asked. "What?" Lu Han was taken aback. Chapter-705 You were pretending, you know. Lu Han has thought many times about what the third-generation Hokage will say before the official duel of the third-generation Hokage, and what Lu Han should say himself. He has pondered over and over again, because he has no ill feelings towards the third-generation Hokage, and wants to promote the alliance between Konoha and Kumogakure. Totally unexpected. Third generation of Hokage didn't greet Lu Han, didn't compliment Lu Han and then said harsh words, and didn't say, "Although you are strong, but I will definitely defeat you," and so on. Lu Han felt that his brain circuits were not enough. "I don't know why Lord Hokage said this," Lu Han asked back quite formally. In fact, he really wanted to say, "Trafficking human organs is inhumane," but Lu Han didn't want to admit that he was shameless, and it wasn't serious enough to say that. "You are the most powerful person in the ninja world, and the ruler of a village, you dare to tease and bully my son. Han Guang, why are you so shameless? You are despicable and shameless." Lao Ai pointed Lu Han's nose and cursed. Then what?" Lu Han didn't know how to answer. "My son is young, with a pure and good nature. He doesn't know people's sins. How can you bear Han Guang? Do you really think my son is easy to bully?" Lao Ai continued to scold. The corners of Lu Han's mouth were twitching. What does it mean to be young and innocent? Which of these two is suitable for Xiao Ai, who has a strong back? Cough, to remind you, your son is 18 years old, and I. 17 years old. Lu Han coughed lightly. "So what? That's why you teased and bullied my son." Lao Ai's hair fluttered. "You first took the opportunity to learn the Raiden, Thunder style, chakra pattern in the name of apology, and you repeatedly played with my son. Let my son not be able to hit you, and it will destroy my son's confidence. Hangguang. You are really a man in this way. You are so cruel, you really deserve to be the direct disciple of that old bastard Sarutobi Hiruzen. Poor, even he has learned how to be treacherous and vicious. It's a pity that it's too far away, otherwise Han Guang would have to be spit out by Lao Ai." "It can't be." Lu Han figured it out. Could it be that Xiao Ai didn't tell Lao Ai about what I pointed out to him? This is a misstep. Lu Han guessed a lot, and he kept calling mistakes in his heart. He thought that Xiao Ai would definitely show off to Lao Ai when he returned, and he would naturally tell him what Lu Han pointed out to him. In addition, Xiao Ai said it in a tone that he thought he was taking advantage of. If he wanted to come to Lao Ai, he would no longer be embarrassed to denounce Lu Han for stealing the Raiden, Thunder style, chakra mode. But obviously Xiao Ai didn't say it. He only said how much grievance he had suffered, which caused Lao Ai to be furious. Lu Han could also think of why Xiao Ai didn't say anything. It was just that the cultivation concept was already at odds with Lao Ai, and he was afraid of being scolded. "You bastard." Lu Han was helpless, and let Lao Ai know that he was pointing Xiao Ai, which was an important part of his plan, because Xiao Ai was a Kumogakure ninja and Hokage's son. Without Lao Ai's permission, it is impossible to apprentice Lu Han at all. And now, Lu Han has been trapped by the unintentional Xiao Ai. Not only is there no hope of accepting apprentices, but even the alliance between Konoha and Kumogakure is hanging. Han Guang, I thought you could be in a high position at a very young age, and you must be a person of extraordinary virtue, but I didn't expect it. You are more vicious than Sarutobi Hiruzen, and kill with a soft knife. In today's battle, it's either you or me. Death, take your life. As soon as Lao Ai's voice fell, terrifying chakra fluctuations erupted throughout his body. If there is a substantial blue light going straight into the sky, the thunder and lightning surrounding him are already dense like armor. Compared with the mad Xiao Ai and the old Ai, it is not an exaggeration to say that the difference between Yingwo and Haoyu. The breath of Lao Ai gave Lu Han a feeling of heart palpitations. The last one who gave Lu Han such strong heart palpitations was not Hanzo, nor the third generation Kazekage, but Sarutobi Hiruzen. Third generation of the village of Kumogakure, the land of Thunder level 70 bronze boss I. He is also bronze, but more terrifying than Hanzo in the name of a demigod. I think this may be a misunderstanding. Lu Han looked at Lao Ai vigilantly. Stop talking nonsense. Let's start, Hengguang, show your ability. Lao Ai shouted angrily. Boom. Lu Han's breath finally broke out, and at the same time, Lao Ai moved. He was just rushing in alone, but it gave Lu Han the feeling of surging waves. The strongest shield, Lu Han murmured, not choosing to fight Lao Ai in melee, but throwing out Hiraishin Kunai, dodging and hiding. His body appeared out of nowhere in midair. Lu Han folded his hands together at extreme speed to hand seal. Kaden Fire Style Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation. The super huge fireball hit Lao Ai. The power of the LV9 Ultimate Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation has surpassed the general S-level Kaden Fire Style ninjutsu. Although there is no Susanoo status bonus, it is also stronger than most S-levels. Group attack ninjutsu is more powerful. Lao Ai, who turned into thunder and lightning, stopped abruptly and looked up at Lu Han, neither dodging nor dodging. Rumbling _ The flame devoured Lao Ai and erupted into a sea of fire. The hot fire burned the space with a sense of distortion. Lao Ai stood in the sea of flames without suffering any damage. The attack of the flames isolated by the lingering thunder light, he seemed to be like the god of thunder. He was staring at Lu Han in the sea of fire. This battle is not without people watching, but there is one person, that is White Fang. Hatake Sakumo stood on a distant mountain, looking at the two who had already started fighting, and seeing Lao Ai's understatement of resisting the terrifying Kaden Fire Style attack of the cold light, he couldn't help but look horrified. The strongest shield is so terrifying. You are pretending to force you to know. Lu Han appeared 100 meters beside Lao Ai and couldn't help but complain. After a lot of age, he is still handsome. In fact, Lu Han also knows that it is impossible to break Lao Ai's defense with only one Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation, but if he resists when it is not necessary, what is not pretending to be? Lu Han hopes that Lao Ai will continue to pretend. The big deal is that he has more chakra than anyone else, and Lu Han grinds him to death. For this battle, Lu Han came with the determination to win. Because Lu Han knows Lao Ai's weakness, but if it's not necessary, Lu Han doesn't like to rely on weakness to defeat Lao Ai. He wants to defeat him in an upright manner. Hengguang, it's up to me. Lao Ai seemed to let Lu Han make a move, and he shouted at the same time, and the speed even doubled. Chapter-701-720 Abuse Level Chio Dance. The change in Lao Ai's speed surprised Lu Han, and it exceeded Lu Han's normal movement speed. Not counting Hiraishin, Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode, and Angry Blood State, Lu Han's speed was not as good as his. Even if Lu Han used Hiraishin's technique, if he didn't spill enough kunai, he wouldn't be as fast as I. Actually think about it, Lao Ai's Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode must have reached LV6 level, saying that he is not good at speed, that is with the future 4th generation of Reikage Little Abby. He is just not faster than his son in the future, does not mean that he is slow. Lu Han still adopted a long-range attack tactic. He still doesn't want to fight Lao Ai, because his sword skills have been restrained by Lao Ai. Lu Han's sword is known for its speed, which can bypass the opponent's defense and directly attack the opponent's key points. In fact, Lu Han's sword attack power is not at all weak. From a destructive point of view, a waterfall-like rain of swords fell, enough to destroy A-level defensive ninjutsu. But in the face of Lao Ai's defense is without dead ends, and the defense power is even more than S-level, which is close to the absolute defense. In this case, it is difficult for Lu Han to take advantage of the melee battle with Lao Ai. Kaden Fire Style Great Fire Destruction. Futon Wind Style The Art of Flower Rain Cutting. Futon, wind style, sleepy roll ascension. Luhan used kite-flying tactics to pull Lao Ai Man to end the valley run. He relied on Hiraishin's technique to distance himself from Lao Ai, and released ninjutsu to attack Lao Ai one after another. Lao Ai was too tired to deal with it. He did not fight Lu hard every time. Han's ninjutsu can hide or hide. Obviously, he also understands that resisting ninjutsu will consume more chakra. If this battle becomes a battle of chakra attrition, it will not be good for him. The roar in the End Valley continued. Although Lao Ai was not hurt in any way, he wanted to vent his anger on his son and chased after Lu Handa, but he couldn't catch up, and he roared in anger. Han Guang, if you have the ability to fight, what is the ability to hide in the east? Do you want to be a joke in the ninja world? Lao Ai's roar echoed in the End Valley. As you wish. With Hui's response, Lu Han appeared 200 meters behind Lao Ai, his hands clasped together. Boom _. If there is a substantial ray of light rising into the sky, rushing to a height of 60 or 70 meters, it changes rapidly, and it condenses quickly. In the light, bones, meridians, flesh and blood, tendons and skins appear, and finally, armor. Susanoo. The third form, the mature body. In fact, the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan can already summon the fourth form complete Susanoo, that is, all the true complete Susanoos, and Susanoos in this state can fly. However, Luhan's Eternal Mangekyo came from exchange. He didn't have a long training in pupil power and Mangekyo control, mainly pupil power, which did not reach ultimate, which was the reason why he couldn't summon the perfect body. Let's fight. At this moment, the weapon in Susanoo's hand was an exaggerated sickle. Luhan let out a low growl, waving the sickle at Lao Ai. Both of them were wearing tortoise shells, and neither laughed at the other, and started a melee that was extremely intense. It is worth mentioning that Lao Ai does not have any weapons on his body, but Xiao Ai has a weapon on his body, that is, the golden armguard on his wrist. The armguard can be used for defense, or some small round Jinchuriki column can be raised. Used for ramming attacks. The reason why Xiao Ai needs weapons and armor is naturally because his Raiden Thunder style chakra mode defense is not strong enough, and it has not reached the level of the strongest shield. But Lao Ai is different. All parts of his body have terrifying defensive power, and he is a weapon himself. Humanoid weapon. Go away. Susanoo Luhan's sickle slammed hard, and Lao Ai confronted him with Chongli Storm, but was directly blasted away. But Lao Ai's reaction was very fast. When flying upside down, his body crashed to the ground, and then it turned into lightning flashes. The flashes appeared behind Susanoo. Susanoo's speed was too slow to dodge Lao Ai's attack. Yilei Shen Furious Thunder Axe. Lao Ai hit chakra on the foot, hit Susanoo from bottom to top, and directly overturned Susanoo. Luhan suddenly felt his spirit tighten. The mature Susanoo is very unstable. One blow, but the power involved the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Susanoo's huge body rolled on the spot, and then turned around and swung the sickle again. Luhan used his sword skills on Susanoo, and the blade was so fast that Lao Ai couldn't dodge. Boom _. Lao Ai was shot flying again. But this time, Lao Ai's face changed. The huge sickle still couldn't break through his defense, but the power would be transmitted, and he didn't know if this blow would hurt him internally. Hangguang, you're good at it. Lao Ai didn't expect that Luhan could use Susanoo to slash such a fast knife light. He couldn't help but exclaim, but Luhan heard a more flaming desire to fight in this admiration. Lao Ai, who was knocked into the air, flashed again. Luhan took advantage of his height and the length of his huge sickle. When Lao Ai was still more than 100 meters away from him, he continuously attacked with his sword. The ground was bursting everywhere, and this time Lao Ai was already prepared. He actually walked in a zigzag shape, dodging continuously, and reached in front of Susanoo in a breath, and then his whole body was shaken, and his arms were raised high. Ray Eye Bomb. Lao Ai actually hugged Susanoo's soles and lifted it hard. While Susanoo was being overturned and slightly vacated, he hugged Susanoo's calf from below, and rose into the sky, flipping Susanoo upside down, and hitting him again. Rumbling, underscore. The terrifying Raiden Thunder-style chakra exploded on Susanoo, and the lightning spread throughout Susanoo, as if to devour Susanoo. However, this was of no use, and Lao Ai still couldn't break Susanoo's defense. At this time, will Lao Ai do useless work? Of course not. Lao Ai is even making moves. Flipping and hitting Susanoo hard, Lao Ai shot into the sky like a thunder and artillery shell, rushing directly into the clouds. Is this going to hit Tathagata's palm? Lu Han couldn't help thinking, and then his face changed. He knew what Lao Ai was going to do. Legendary level Chio dance. Lao Ai fell like a meteor, dashing down from the sky in an instant, and when Susanoo just returned to his standing state, he used his hand as a knife and hit Susanoo's head hard. Boom, crack. Susanoo spreads fissures down from the top of his head. Chapter-701-720 Someone is coming. Sure enough, it was this trick. Lu Han knew it. In the original work, it wasn't Lao Ai who used this trick, but his son Chao Ai, who directly split Uchiha Sasuke's Susanoo with the Lay Abuse Chio dance. The huge Susanoo, the luminous energy will not crack, the light will not be torn, the crack is Susanoo itself, the armor, and the bone shape covered with flesh and blood structure under the armor. It's really fierce, Lu Han exclaimed. In fact, Lu Han didn't plan to use Susanoo and Lao Ai to win or lose, because it was impossible. Lu Han's Susanoo has not yet reached the highest level, because the armor has been added. It's very unstable because of the other structure. Lu Han won't be disheartened because Susanoo is cracked. He used Susanoo to melee with Lao Ai, but he wanted to try the Susanoo displayed by the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, how much combat power it has. Hangguang, you are nothing more than that. Lao Ai drank coldly, full of sarcasm. He he he. Lu Han gave Lao Ai an inexplicable laughter, which was a little permeating. Back quickly. Lu Han used the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan with all his strength to repair Susanoo as much as possible. At the same time, the sickle danced wildly, splashing hundreds of sword lights, preventing Lao Ai from continuing his combo. Susanoo has not been completely broken, so Lu Han does not plan to release it for the time being. After Lao Ai succeeded in one hit, he didn't take advantage of the victory to pursue and continue to enlarge his moves. Amplifying moves requires a lot of chakra. Lao Ai was naturally concerned. In fact, he didn't want Lu Han to release Susanoo, because in Lao Ai's opinion, cold light maintaining the existence of such a big guy must consume a lot of chakra, repairing it, and the consumption is even more terrifying. Therefore, Lao Ai just cracked Susanoo, but did not crush Susanoo with the strongest attack. The strength reached the level of Lu Han and Lao Ai. Once they found that they could not do anything to the opponent in a short period of time, they would basically use tactics to gain more advantages for themselves. It's all calculations. This is the case with the strongest players. Without knowing who can restrain who, they can only calculate each other, let the other party consume more chakra, make the other party more tired, and make the other party more impatient, in order to find a chance to win. In the original work, many classic decisive battles have to be fought for a day and a night, or even longer, before the winner can be determined. This is the reason. After Susanoo was repaired, Lu Han started to melee with Lao Ai again, sometimes wielding a knife, sometimes punching, sometimes stepping on his feet. Susanoo's strength naturally needs to be said. Even if he can't break Lao Ai's defense, it is enough to shock him. If Lao Ai suffered too many such attacks, he would definitely suffer serious internal injuries. Of course, Lao Ai is not stupid. While he tried his best to dodge Susanoo's attack, relying on his speed advantage, he frequently appeared all over Susanoo's body and responded. The two fought fiercely for nearly 4 hours, until dusk fell, and neither took advantage. More than 100 Anbu ninjas were guarding everywhere outside the Valley of End. They could only hear roars and feel the unimaginable chakra fluctuations, but they were unable to watch the battle. As the only spectator, White Fang was still standing on the bare mountain, looking at the huge Susanoo from afar. Call. Chakra fluctuations came from behind White Fang, and the masked Anbu ninja hurried behind White Fang. What's wrong? White Fang turned to look. This Anbu ninja has white eyes, but it is the Anbu squad leader, the super elite Jonin Hyuga Bonin. Someone is coming, Hyuga Bonin said. His Byakugan was on, and his hand pointed a direction to White Fang. White Fang frowned slightly. If someone came, someone would come. Since he found out, why didn't he deal with it immediately? If you can drive it away, you can drive it away. If you can't drive it away, you will catch it, and if the opponent resists fiercely, you will directly kill it. Hyuga Bonin came to report the incident, which made White Fang feel weird, didn't say anything, and disappeared directly on the mountain. In the southwest of the Valley of the End, in a very corner position, there is a small hill. The hill is full of trees and extremely dense. This place is very secret, because it belongs to the Valley of the End, and Anbu Ninja cannot arrange manpower here. If someone really dived here, if it wasn't for Byakugan of Benin Hyuga who could see through it, it would be really hard to find. Okay. Hit him. Yes, hit him. Oops, how did he get beaten out? Hey. Yes, good fight. The figure with the back and the waist was extremely excited, standing on the big rock for a moment, looking at the end in the distance valley battlefield, hands kept gesturing. What are you doing? White Fang's cold and faint voice sounded from behind. Xiao Ai was startled immediately, because White Fang had hit him, and he had a psychological shadow. Hearing White Fang's voice, he jumped off the stone, distanced himself from White Fang, and turned around to be alert. Hataki Sakumo saw Xiao Ai and immediately understood why Benin Hyuga informed him. First, this sneaky guy is the son of Raikage III. Second, Hyuga Bonin is not his opponent, so naturally he can't drive him away. What are you doing? I warn you, my father is over there. I didn't provoke you. Xiao Ai warned timidly. He was more afraid of Konoha White Fang, who became famous earlier than Han Guang, because White Fang always cold and unsmiling, and White Fang is old. Xiao Ai is still an 18-year-old boy, and White Fang is about to run for the third time. Get out of here, White Fang said blankly. Why? Xiao Ai argued. Why can you watch it here, but I can't? You are a Konoha ninja and Han Guang's subordinate, so you are allowed to watch on Konoha, but we are not allowed to watch on Kumogakure. White Fang saw that Xiao Ai didn't speak, thought for a moment, then turned to look in the direction of the battlefield and said, don't walk around. After speaking, White Fang disappeared and left. White Fang agreed to Xiao Ai to watch the fight. Considering two aspects, one is that what Xiao Ai said really makes sense, and he is not only a Kumogakure ninja, but also Lao Ai's son, and the other is that if White Fang attacks him, Lao Ai is likely to feel the breath of his son, disturbing the duel. With White Fang's permission, Xiao Ai grinned, but did not listen to White Fang's words. After taking a few more glances, she felt that it was too far to see clearly. She quietly left the Shaoshanbao forest and quickly approached the battlefield. Chapter 0708_Cold Light. You look down on me. White Fang didn't go far at all, and stared at Xiao Ai secretly. He saw Xiao Ai approaching the battlefield, but he didn't stop him. As long as Xiao Ai didn't get too close and interfered with the duel, White Fang wouldn't be a bad guy in vain. White Fang also guessed something about Han Guang's thoughts on Xiao Ai, so he didn't try to inform Lu Han. He knew that even if Lu Han knew that Xiao Ai came to watch, he probably wouldn't drive him away. Besides, White Fang doesn't need to report this kind of trivial matter to anyone, he can make his own decisions. Xiao Ai passed through a small forest, and entered a rocky field formed by historical battles. She jumped onto a large rock, and her vision suddenly opened up. Behind a stone as tall as one person, relying on the stone to cover, watching the battle from a distance. Although he had permission from the White Fang, he was sneaky. He was afraid that Lao Ai would find him and let him get out. Before the duel on this day, Lao Ai had warned Xiao Ai not to watch the battle. Generally speaking, in this kind of duel involving life and death, both parties are not allowed to watch, especially relatives and family members. there are many concerns. For example, when Xiao Ai is present, Lao Ai will consider if he wins, will Han Guang arrest his son and threaten him? Will Konoha make a move? And if he loses the duel in front of his son, it is very embarrassing, and to put it more extreme, not only loses, but also kills. That would be cruel. There is no father's hope that his son will see himself killed. Xiao Ai was warned by Lao Ai that he was sneaking in by himself, so he kept sneaking around. The End Valley battlefield, Susanoo has been broken twice. Lu Han has consumed a lot of chakra for this. Fortunately, his Sharingan has been promoted to Eternal Mangekyo. Otherwise, his eyesight will definitely deteriorate a lot. Lao Ai is getting more and more brave in battle. Although he has been severely injured, at least from the outside, he is not injured. The sky was already dark, but the two people on the battlefield were even more dazzling, because both of them were glowing. Huh, Lu Han suddenly exclaimed in surprise. In this duel, Lu Han didn't dare to be careless, so he didn't open the insight map very often, and his focus was on the battle. This afternoon, he only opened the insight map a few times, mainly to know if Uchiha Madara had any come to watch. Whether the two came to watch Lu Han didn't know, but when he opened the insight map this time, he found that there was a second Yuhi name in the Valley of the End. Since Lao Ai is the big Yuhi name, the identity information is displayed on the insight map, so Lu Han cannot determine who the second Yuhi name is through the insight map. It must be either Uchiha Madara or Uchiha Madara's level is higher than Lao Ai. Who is it? Lu Han was full of questions. The only teammate land in the End Valley, Anbu Captain Hataki Sakumo, the blue dot is near the Yuhi dot. This is the biggest reason for Lu Han's doubts. It was not unexpected for Lu Han to have Yuhi's name to watch, but since White Fang found out, why not drive away or take down? Lu Han is deeply aware of White Fang's strength, not to mention that it is stronger than Boiling Yu. I am afraid it is not much worse. Only a handful of people who can say that they are 100% stronger than White Fang. So Lu Han naturally wouldn't think that anyone who came here would be better than White Fang. Thunder Flare Axe 2. Lao Ai seemed to notice that Lu Han was a little distracted, raised his hands together, and waved his arms violently. Both hands hit Susanoo at the same time, and Susanoo was shot out immediately. His feet were slightly off the ground. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was flying. It stopped after more than 200 meters. Seeing the opportunity, Lu Han swept in the direction of the second Yuhi name with his corner of the eye. Because Susanoo was condescending, Lu Han's eyesight was amazing. Although he didn't see the figure on the huge rock in the distance, because there was a standing stone blocking it, Lu Han could see the identity information on the person's head clearly. It's Xiao Ai. He got it secretly. No wonder White Fang didn't chase him. Lu Han's heart sank, and his mind moved again, looking at Lao Ai who was approaching quickly. If I beat Lao Ai who is good at strength with speed, Xiao Ai will treat him. I won't be so superstitious anymore, will it? Futon Wind Style Sleepy Roll Ascension. Lu Han actually used Hand Seal to perform ninjutsu. White Fang, who was watching the battle, but Xiao Ai didn't think anything was wrong, because he didn't come here for a long time, and he didn't know how Lu Han and Lao Ai fought this afternoon. Futon Wind Style can form a certain restraint on Lao Ai's ability. He is not afraid of fire or thunder, but in the face of wind, if he avoids, he will stay away from Lu Han. The S-level forbidden technique performed in Susanoo's state moves forward, and Lao Ai can't do it. Lao Ai retreated to avoid the attack, trying to bypass the attack range of Futon Wind Style and attack Lu Han from the side. Lu Han seized the opportunity and quickly disarmed Susanoo, unable to calm down a little chakra, and immediately forcibly transformed Raiden Thunder Style chakra, but saw his whole body shake, the airflow surged, and the thunder light entered Raiden Thunder Style chakra mode. Two people, all in Raiden Thunder Style chakra mode. However, Lao Ai's Raiden Thunder Style chakra mode is LV6, while Lu Han's is only LV3. Distance, White Fang frowned in surprise. He didn't understand why Lu Han avoided his strengths and promoted his weaknesses. The master's ability not long ago was more powerful than Susanoo. Lao Ai stopped, looked at Lu Han with an angry face, and shouted, Han Guang. What do you mean? Look down on me. Chakra mode. This is Lao Ai's housekeeping skills. He has been practicing this technique for 30 or 40 years. Mention that Hengguang has just mastered Raiden, Thunder Style, Chakra Mode. Even if Hengguang has practiced Raiden, Thunder Style, Chakra Mode for 10 years, Lao Ai is confident that he can beat it with one hand. He was right, he could indeed be blasted with one hand. But the point is, gotta hit it. Have fun. I use Susanoo to fight you. Even if we fight for another day and night, I am afraid it will be difficult to distinguish the winner. Don't worry, I use Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode, not to mock you. Lu Han shrugged at Lao Ai, pulled out the Man of Shock, and thunder and lightning immediately surrounded the blade. You're courting death. Lao Ai roared, sprinting to Lu Han in an instant. Chapter 0709_Speed vs Strength. Lao Ai can be said to be completely runaway. Lu Han's use of Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode is regarded by him as an unlimited provocation. Changliu burst. Lao Ai's fists and elbows met, with the tip of his elbow in front, and bombarded Lu Han's head. Lu Han dodged and hid, but suddenly came to Lao Ai's back. The knife light splashed out like a waterfall, and suddenly brought a burst of thunder. Lao Ai stumbled, then turned around. His hands and feet were like shadows, facing Lu Han's knife light boom. Power is really terrifying. Lu Han's heart shook. This was the first time he used his own strength to resist Lao Ai's attack. Although he said that the faster the knife, the heavier the power, and the Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode blessing, but it still gave Lu Han a feeling that he was about to be unable to resist. Fortunately, Lu Han used the Sword of Astonishment, which is considered an artifact, and there was no possibility of being interrupted by Lao Ai. If Lu Han fought Lao Ai with fists and feet, he would have been beaten to death. Why is his knife speed so fast? The power is so heavy. Lao Ai was also extremely shocked. Over the years, no ninja has ever broken his defense, and no ninja will attack him with a knife at all, because everyone knows that a knife can't hurt Lao Ai at all, which makes Lao Ai despise the branch of swordsmanship. How about the speed of the knife? You can't break my defense, no matter how fast you are. But Lu Han refreshed his knowledge of swordsmanship. Lao Ai used his fists and feet to fight Lu Han's saber technique, and at most he was able to withstand one or two of the attacks, and the rest of the attacks were all cut on him. You know, Lu Han can make hundreds or thousands of knives per second, of which 700 or 800 knives must successfully hit Lao Ai. 1 knives is no problem, 10 knives are no problem, and 100 knives are not a problem, but there are thousands of them. What about thousands of knives? Fortunately, Lu Han's sword light was not enough to hit a single point, otherwise Lao Ai's defense would be broken. But even so, Lao Ai was still under great pressure, and he had to concentrate more chakra in front of him to form a sufficient defense. Both of them realized how terrible the other was. Lao Ai was violent as always. And Lu Han was also at the peak of melee combat. There are 2 modes of Lu Han's melee insane state. The first one is when he is in a state of blood rage. His speed and fighting consciousness are increased sharply, and his skill in shooting is stronger. The second one is the current Raiden Thunder Style Check. Carrot mode, explosive speed and power. In the 2 states, the speed can be basically the same, the difference is that the rage is heavy on skills, and the Raiden Thunder Style is heavy. It can be said that each has its own merits. However, in comparison, the state of anger and blood is stronger. Lu Han relied on this state at the beginning, and the Hanzo who killed him didn't even dare to fight in close combat. He ran and ran. However, Lu Han couldn't deal with Lao Ai with angry blood at all. First, because the blood rage state did not increase the strength enough, Lu Han had no chance to break through Lao Ai's defense. The second is that he can't perform any ninjutsu in the state of angry blood, which is too dangerous. If he is hit by Lao Ai, Lu Han will be sobbing. Can you use the strange power of taijutsu to form blessings? Lu Han suddenly changed his mind and gathered chakra again. He felt some difficulties because he was currently transforming Raiden, Thunder-style chakra, and the strange power of taijutsu needed is without attribute chakra. If you want to use both abilities at the same time, you must transform both chakras at the same time. Difficult, but only difficult. Luhan still did it, but he felt that the speed of chakra consumption had quadrupled. What's going on? Luhan was startled. Is it because of the conflict between the two abilities, or the chakra conflict? Luhan couldn't figure out the current situation, but he didn't think much about it, because he didn't know what to do now. You need to worry about how much chakra. Lao Ai's chakra will not be more than him. As Luhan used his physique magic, Lao Ai's pressure increased greatly. Raiden Thunder Style Thunder Plow Hot Knife. Lao Ai launched a ninja technique and rushed forward fiercely, even directly breaking Luhan's waterfall knife light. Kufan's big palm hit Luhan's neck in the thunder and lightning circle. Luhan retreated violently. At his current peak speed, he surpassed Lao Ai. When the hand of Thunderlight was still a foot away from his neck, he retreated and went around Lao Ai's side. The output chakra was not as good as the loss. Raiden Thunder Style, Chakra Mode and Physical Magic Double Blessing, Thunder and Rage. This knife has the power to break through the mature Susanoo, not losing to Lao Ai's Thunder Abuse level Chio Dance. Damn it! Lao Ai felt that the blow was invincible, otherwise he would be injured, and suddenly his body shrank, and then he leaned back and ejected into the air. Boom _ Hit the ground. The uneven rock suddenly burst, and the terrifying power was poured into the ground. After the explosion, the ground tore a crack nearly 100 meters long, and the widest point was 3 meters. Hangguang. Ha 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 ha, I underestimated you. Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode can exert such power under your hands. I am very relieved. Lao Ai actually laughed, sounding like a bell. Luhan couldn't help turning Byakugan to Lao Ai. Is this a credit to the Raiden Thunder Style chakra pattern? This is obviously lousy strong, right? Lao Su and Faceless fought thousands of times to the death before they practiced today's swordsmanship. Does it have anything to do with Raiden Thunder Style chakra? Lao Ai and Xiao Ai have a problem, they always value their own skills more. Luhan really wanted to ask him, do you want a face? After Luhan changed his fighting style, he still had the same fighting power as Lao Ai, which surprised Lao Ai, and at the same time he was more fighting spirit. If you lose to Susanoo, Lao Ai can still accept it. After all, there is a generation of madman Uchiha Madara who has precedent, and everyone knows that Susanoo is strong, but if he loses in the Raiden Thunder Style chakra mode, he loses to his own skills. It was still a hit. I will never let this happen. The two entered into a fast-paced life and death fight. From dusk to night, from night to late night, one relies on strength and defense, and the other relies on speed to display power from time to time. Killing is inseparable. However, both of them have a steel scale in their hearts, and they both know that it is Lao Ai who is at a disadvantage. Why? Because he is always beaten. I don't know how many knives he has received, but he has never hit Luhan. Luhan naturally couldn't let him fight, otherwise he would be disabled. Hangguang, you forced me. Lao Ai suddenly shouted angrily, pressing the fingers of his right hand together. Hell Assault 4 books consistent. Coming. Lao Ai's Strongest Spear. Chapter-701-720 The Strongest Spear. Lao Ai has two stunts, known as the Strongest Shield and the Strongest Spear. The Strongest Shield is that Lao Ai casts Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode to Ultimate, forming a Raiden Thunder Style armor defense on the body surface, which can be called the ability closest to the defense. The Strongest Spear is Lao Ai's Profound Truth Ninjutsu in Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode. This is the real Profound Truth. Therefore, Lao Ai's spear is stronger than his shield, which is also his weakness. How to prevent it? At this moment, Luhan was completely focused. He knew very well that if he made a slight mistake, he might be killed by Lao Ai's subordinates. Even if he had a subverter's body, it would be useless. 4 fingers, you should be on guard. Lao Ai was approaching, and Luhan made a decision. Because Lao Ai was performing ninjutsu, its speed was not normal, it was faster, and it was no longer similar to Lu Han. In this case, unless Lu Han used the Haraishin technique, it would be difficult to dodge. What does it mean to hide? Lao Ai fights, Lu Han hides, then this battle can be fought for a lifetime, and no one can do anything about it. Come on, Lu Han shouted loudly. For the first time, he held the sword of astonishment with both hands. The breath of his whole body rose to ultimate, and he slashed furiously. Boom _ Lu Han's knife collided with Lao Ai's 4 fingers, and an extremely terrifying shock wave swept across the Valley of End, and the two flew out at the same time. Stop it! Lu Han bit Kiba and muttered in his heart. He felt his arms go numb. In fact, he didn't have to. It was unwise to have power with old Abby. Lao Ai dragged his feet on the ground, plowed out 2 ravines on the ground, and stopped after retreating for nearly 100 meters. He looked a little shocked. Although the confrontation between the two was dead, Lu Han was useless. I used it. He didn't know that Lu Han also blessed the strange power of taijutsu in Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode. Excellent skill. Lao Ai praised. Hengguang, I have to admit, you are one of the most powerful enemies I have encountered in my life, and the youngest among them. What a pity, you are going to die today, and I already have some can't bear to start. There's a lot of nonsense. Lu Han replied quietly. Humph. Lao Ai's face darkened. Young man, you don't bow your head until death is imminent. You really have the backbone. Can you stop talking nonsense? Lu Han raised his eyebrows. Okay. Lao Ai drank and ran wild again. Hell Assault 3 books. 4 fingers become 3 fingers. The less fingers are used, the more terrifying the power of Hell Stab is. This time, Lao Ai did not directly charge Lu Han, but hit the ground with his hand. The terrifying force hit the ground and suddenly exploded several times. The unclear rock thorns attacked Lu Han. Lu Han jumped to dodge. Lao Ai saw the opportunity, turned into blue lightning, and appeared in front of Lu Han in an instant. His elbow was greatly raised back, and then he hit 3 fingers. This time, Lu Han didn't use the knife, but threw out his left hand quickly, and the light shone. LV9 Ultimate Rasengan vs Hell Thrust 3 through the hand. Bang bang rumbling. The wind is howling and roaring. Lu Han's LV9 Ultimate Rasengan is not weak, but extremely powerful. Rasengan is a top-level A-level single-attack ninjutsu, and has reached the LV9 level, which breaks the upper limit of this world, and its power is even close to S-level single-target ninjutsu. Peak. Reason why Lu Han didn't use Rasengan to hit Lao Ai before was mainly because the Rasengan's attack area was larger than that of a knife, the size of a slap, which was not as targeted as the extremely narrow area of the blade. Easier to defend. Therefore, for Lao Ai's defense, the knife is better to use. If it is against Lao Ai's big move, it is still more domineering from LV9 Ultimate Rasengan. However, Lu Han was still blasted out. Old Ai is the same. This time, the two have opened a distance of nearly 300 meters. Fortunately, both of them have amazing eyesight, and they can lock each other by relying on their breath. Ha 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 ha, cold light, is it uncomfortable? Old Ai Hong's bell-like low voice came from afar. I don't know if you have lost your hand. If you voluntarily admit defeat, I will spare your life. Are you injured? Lu Han asked suddenly, with a quick tone. Lao Ai's whisper stopped abruptly. Although Lu Han didn't speak loudly, he could hear it clearly. Are you injured? Lu Han asked again, as if he had discovered a big secret. ... Distance. Xiao Ai leaned against the stone and stared at her bloodshot eyes, still watching with great interest. After watching the battle for 5 or 6 hours in a row, he also felt tired, mainly because the distance was still too far, so he had to keep his eyes wide open. Stare, otherwise, you will definitely be negligent and fail to see some of the fighting scenes. Okay, nice work. Hit. Why did it stop again? Really, just put a finger on it. Little Abby was all excited and wanted to jump out, but didn't dare. Because the distance was too far, he just couldn't hear anything except Lao Ai's laughter. He wanted to get closer many times, but he gave up after thinking about it, because there was no barrier in front of him, and he was afraid of being seen by his old eye. Lao Ai's face gradually darkened. He stared at Lu Han, and asked slowly, "How do you know?" "Because you're talking too much nonsense." Lu Han replied, "Actually, I'm very puzzled. We've been fighting for so long, but we haven't had enough chakra. Why did you suddenly take out the strongest attack? I was very impatient, and then, after our 2 confrontations, you would talk nonsense with me, and even say such childish things as making me admit defeat. You are injured, right? That's why you are so eager to resolve the battle, and you need time to live the injury. Is the internal injury serious?" Lao Ai didn't say anything, but the breath in his whole body became more violent. Lu Han guessed right. Lao Ai was indeed injured, an invisible internal injury. Lu Han slashed him too many times, stacking the impact again and again. Although he did not break his defense, the activated body defense was much weaker than the surface defense. The impact caused him to have internal injuries, which started a little bit at first, and it has been getting worse for several hours now, which has affected his fighting state. He knew that if he continued to fight with Han Guang for a long time, the injury in his body would worsen faster. Infernal thrusts, profound meanings, all in one hand. Lao Ai no longer kept it, and launched his strongest blow on Lu Han. Chapter-701-1 Win or Lose. Only he himself knew how serious Lao Ai's injury was. In fact, it wasn't necessarily serious. At least he didn't vomit blood and his breath was stable. But since Lao Ai wanted to solve the battle so impatiently, he naturally had his own concerns. Lu Han couldn't break his Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode, but once an injury appeared in his body, it would be equivalent to breaking his skills, and the injury would rapidly aggravate as he continued to resist attacks. Lu Han could speculate that Sarutobi Hiruzen hit Lao Ai seriously, and it should be the same. After all, Lao Ai's ability is relatively simple. If Sarutobi Hiruzen could break Lao Ai's defense, Lao Ai would have died at the hands of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen is also a level 70 bronze boss. He is not necessarily stronger than Lao Ai. The reason why Lao Ai has been frustrated under Sarutobi Hiruzen is naturally because Sarutobi Hiruzen is not alone. Super Ninja Beast, comparable to the 10,000 snakes, big toads, etc., can also become a stick, so that Sarutobi Hiruzen has the melee ability of the table. If I dodge Lao Ai's blow and fight him in a war of attrition, he will be defeated by me in a few hours. Lu Han watched Lao Ai rush towards him. His thoughts were like lightning. I have already secured the victory, and if you have the art of Horaitian, you will be invincible. Quote. Then. Now, it's over. The breath on Lu Han's body quickly weakened, the thunder light disappeared, and the Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode was released. At the same time, Lu Han's hands shone brightly, and the double LV9 Ultimate Rasengan appeared. Until now, Lu Han still didn't dare to care. He released the Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode so as not to affect the Rasengan's performance, but with only one Rasengan, Lu Han could not guarantee success, so he chose to use 2 Rasengans, and the power of the Rasengan was not as good as the loss. To the limit. Call _ Lu Han ran wild, turned into a glimpse and rushed towards Lao Ai. Lao Ai's aura has been elevated to ultimate. He wanted to gradually increase the power of the Hell Thrust, starting with 4 fingers, then 3 fingers, 2 fingers, 1 finger. But Lu Han had already seen his problem, so he directly skipped the second one, and displayed the strongest one. The power of this move is enough to instantly defeat Susanoo. Come on. Yeah. Both of them roared. The distance was getting closer and closer. Lao Ai raised his right elbow, pointed his fingertips at Lu Han. Lu Han raised his hands, because Lu Han urged Rasengan to ultimate, and even had there as an unstable trend. Rumbling _ At this moment, the wind whistled and brought up smoke and dust, and the burst of thunderlight illuminated the valley of the end like day. Because the light was too dazzling, White Fang and Xiao Ai, who were staring at the battle, were all stimulated to close their eyes. Thunder is roaring. The world seemed to be shaken. But after an instant, everything disappeared, the light on Lao Ai disappeared, and the light on Lu Han disappeared, and the valley of the end fell into darkness. At night, there was not enough light, but the dark clouds blocked the waning moon. Quiet. Silent. What's wrong? Xiao Ai opened her eyes again and stared at it. He couldn't even feel the breath of people, but he could still vaguely see the two of them, standing opposite each other, their figures in the night very blurry below. What's the matter? Xiao Ai stood up all of a sudden and wanted to take a closer look. He felt that the winner had been decided, but there was no movement, very strange. White Fang flickered beside Xiao Ai, raised his hand and pressed Xiao Ai's shoulder. Don't go there, White Fang said. He stopped Xiao Ai. In fact, he didn't know what the situation was now, but he could guess that either the winner had been decided, or the winner had not yet been decided, but the key to the decision had come. ... Tick, tick, tick. The blood was dripping on the rocky ground, seeping into the cracks in the rock, and soon it changed from a small piece to a large pool. Lao Ai looked down at his chest and stared in disbelief. The terrifying attack caused a half-meter-long laceration on his body. He leaned diagonally, and the flesh and blood rolled. Lao Ai could even see his ribs and internal organs. Lao Ai's strongest shield has been broken. The destruction was extremely thorough, but the attack that broke his strongest shield did not come from Lu Han, but from himself, his strongest spear. Infernal Thrust one shot, smashed the strongest Raiden, Thunder-style armor. Why is this happening? Lao Ai was in a trance, he couldn't accept this fiasco, he had never failed so completely. He vaguely remembered that the attack launched by Han Guang hit him on the wrist, forcing his, one manual hand, to change the direction of the attack and hit him. This is Lao Ai's weakness, a weakness that only he knows. He didn't understand, why did Han Guang know? Of course Lu Han knew that because there were related plots in the original book. Lao Ai's weakness was that his spear was stronger than his shield, and his spear and shield were too close. The night was thick, and Lao Ai's face was pale. He knew he was going to die. Even if this kind of injury would not kill him directly, he would not have the strength to fight Lu Han again. I think it's over. Lu Han took out his knife and said coldly. Ha! Lao Ai raised his head and smiled miserably at Lu Han, his eyes full of sorrow at the end of the hero. Lu Han stared at Lao Ai, pulled a knife flower, and retracted the sword of Jinghong into the scabbard, then raised his hand to block his right eye, while the left eye Mangekyo spun rapidly, pupil technique, time and space tide. Retreat. Lao Ai's strength is too strong, it can be said to be a super huge energy body, making this energy body go back to the past. Lu Han even has a feeling that the strength of the pupil strength is not enough, so he has to increase the chakra output. Short in less than 10 seconds, the amount of chakra output by Lu Han was actually more than the amount of chakra consumed by fighting with Lao Ai for a few hours at night. Lao Ai returned to the past, the wounds on his body healed quickly, and even the blood that dripped on the ground flew back into his body. Lao Ai's face became very exciting. He didn't understand why Lu Han did this, and he didn't know what ability Lu Han was using, but he could feel that his injury was recovering in an incredible way. Why didn't you kill me? Lao Ai asked. Chapter-701-720 Kumogakure Retreat _ Lu Han restored Lao Ai to the state he was in before he launched One Piece, and there was no further change, because Lao Ai's internal injury was caused by continuous fighting for more than 10 hours, and he also consumed a lot of chakra. If Lu Han sending him back more than 10 hours ago, I'm afraid he can't do it even if he runs out of chakra. Hearing Lao Ai's question, Lu Han put down his hand covering his right eye and said, killing you will do me no good. If you die, Kumogakure will become Konoha's life and death enemy. Xiao Ai will lose his father, Kumogakure you will lose the leader, and in this world, there will be one less powerful person with clear grievances and loyalty. Your death will not make Konoha better, but it will make the situation more difficult. I don't know how many Konoha ninjas will die in Kumogakure in my hands. Exchange your life for the lives of hundreds of Konoha ninjas. I think it's worth it, you don't deserve to die. Over the years, thousands of ninjas have died at the hands of Lu Han. Lao Ai can be said to be the first person who clearly wants to kill Lu Han. Lu Han has the opportunity to fight back, but he did not kill. Lao Ai was a little lost, and he couldn't keep up with Lu Han's thinking. The high-sounding reason, if he changed Lao Ai, he would never think about it so much. Go back. Lu Han turned around and walked away, his voice getting further and further along with his footsteps. There is no winner or loser in today's battle, let's fight another day. Lu Han's voice echoed in the Valley of the End. This was for Xiao Ai. After thinking about it repeatedly, Lu Han still felt that it would be better not to let the myth in Xiao Ai's heart be shattered. It is only right that my son worships Laozi. Moreover, after today, Lu Han will also declare to the outside world that the battle with Lao Ai's End Valley is a draw. Konoha and Kumogakure be facilitated. The prerequisite for the alliance is equality. It cannot be said that who is a vassal. It is impossible for one party to be too strong. Therefore, Lu Han must create equality as much as possible. It's a draw. Xiao Ai stood on the boulder, stunned, and then muttered angrily, how come it was a draw? My father didn't beat Han Guang. It must be Han Guang cheating. Shameless Han Guang. Lu Han didn't go to meet Xiao Ai, and left the Valley of the End with the technique of Hiraishin. White Fang locked Lu Han's breath, knowing that Lu Han left immediately and disappeared beside Xiao Ai. Soon, Konoha's ninjas all evacuated, and Xiao Ai also secretly left. He didn't dare to show his face. Only Lao Ai was left in the Valley of the End. He didn't seem to have recovered, and stood alone in the Valley of the End for a long time. Wake up, until the dark clouds drifted away and the waning moon was in the sky. Hangguang, you have such a heart and mind at a young age. If you don't treat Kumogakure as an enemy, then Lao Ai murmured, dodging and disappearing into the Valley of the End. A few days later, news about the battle between Hangguang and Ai's End Valley spread throughout Konoha. Because Konoha took the initiative to release the news, scouts from other forces could know the result without investigating. The final outcome of the battle of life and death between the two most powerful men in the world, no winner or loser. This result has caused many people to feel pity. How come no one died? From the point of view of other forces, the best outcome of the Battle of End Valley is to kill one person, no matter who dies, because as long as someone dies, Konoha and Kumogakure will never die, and other forces can fish in troubled waters. Kumogakure has retreated. Although it was said to the outside world that there was no winner or loser, it was a tie, and we should fight another day, but Lao Ai knew that he had lost, so according to the agreement, 5 days after he returned to the camp, he announced his retreat, and the Kurigakure Corps officially started to leave the fire. The border of the country, returned to the country of thunder. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 10 days have passed since the Battle of the Valley of the End. This morning, Konoha high-level meeting. The third meeting room. Lu Han sat in the main seat, and there were more than 20 people including Kaharu Udatane, Homura Mitokado, Inazuka Lei, Hyuga Huyang, Hitaki Sakumo, Uchiha Lei-young, etc. The main topics of this meeting were discussions on the situation in the Land of Rain, and an alliance with Iwagakure. Tsuchikage Onoki, the third generation, had agreed to form an alliance, but because of the Kumogakure and Kurigakure army, and the fact that the decisive battle in the valley was about to end, Iwagakure's attitude became blurred. Iwagakure clearly wanted to fish in troubled waters. Because whether Lu Han is dead or I is dead, it is good for them. When Lu Han is dead, Kumogakure will definitely break into the country of fire. Iwagakure can choose to form an alliance with Konoha to fight against the Kumogakure village, or he can choose to withdraw from the war. Machine rest. And if I died, Konoha may not fight back against Kumogakure, and Iwagakure may or may not form an alliance with Konoha, all in Onoki's mind. It's all calculations. At present, Onoki has only verbally agreed to form an alliance. Because the document has not been signed, the two sides have not yet formally formed an alliance. Kumogakure has retreated, and I don't know when it will make a comeback. Kaharu Udatane said with a blank face, holding a pen in his hand. Lord Hengwang and Rakage have no difference, according to Rakage's temper. I am afraid that he will not give up, so I propose, send a powerful person to lead the mission to Iwagakure village to formally finalize the alliance, and if Tsuchikage agrees, sign the document immediately. No one in Konoha knew that Luhan won Rakage, because Luhan didn't say. One is afraid of leaking the news, and the other is afraid of trouble. After all, he can't prove that he defeated Lao Ai, because he cured Lao Ai's trauma. Lao Ai is still alive and well. In this case, Luhan insisted that he won, which might arouse suspicion. Even if some people believed him, there would definitely be some people who questioned why he didn't kill Ai. Therefore, what Luhan said to the village was a tie. That's enough. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen was level with Ai at the beginning, and time again, Luhan was no worse than Sarutobi Hiruzen, and he could be regarded as one of the chips to become Hokage. Onoki is a capricious villain. Hearing Kaharu Yutane talking about forming an alliance, Uchiha Leiyang immediately objected. Before we Konoha were under a lot of pressure. Iwagakure verbally agreed to form an alliance, but he didn't act, and he didn't send troops to contain Kumogakure. He had no sincerity at all. Quote. Report. An Anbu ninja broke into the conference room and interrupted Uchiha Leiyang's words. The Iwagakure mission is coming, and it is still 30 miles from the village entrance. Chapter-701-720 The Iwagakure mission came very suddenly, and no one was sent to inform it before. In terms of time, considering the distance between Iwagakure village and Konoha village, I am afraid. Iwagakure village dispatched a mission immediately after getting the news of the result of the duel between Luhan and Lao Ai. Okay. Kaharu Yutane stood up to help the case. Iwagakure must have sent someone to discuss the alliance, which is different from the bad intentions when the Kumogakure mission came. Since Iwagakure has agreed to form an alliance, we should show sincerity. Just bring someone to meet you. Quote. Kaharu Yutane has been very active recently. Since Luhan handed over the establishment of silver to her, she is equivalent to holding real power, which seems to have inspired her utilitarian heart. This time, I am so eager to promote the official alliance between Konoha and Iwagakure, I am afraid it is a merit. Mind. It's not urgent. As Kaharu Yutane was about to leave, Luhan said lightly. Lord Hengwang. Kaharu Yutane immediately looked at Luhan and said eagerly, this matter must be dealt with immediately, the Iwagakure mission is almost at the entrance of the village. Sit down. Luhan glanced at Kaharu Yutane, and immediately raised his hand to the Anbu ninja who reported the letter. Let Hyuga Haeyoung lead someone to receive him. Yes. The Anbu ninja took the lead and hurried away. Kaharu Yutane sat down helplessly. His face was very ugly. She also saw Luhan's attitude. Obviously Iwagakure was swaying before, which made Luhan feel bad. I will deal with the matter of receiving the Iwagakure mission after the meeting. Now we will continue the meeting. Luhan knocked on the table and glanced at White Fang. Tell me about the information about the Rain Country. White Fang got up and said, the information sent back 3 days ago, Sunagakure and Omegakure used troops at the same time, mobilized nearly 10,000 ninjas to advance to the southwest. The second main battle army was forced to retreat, and asked the first and fourth main battle army for help. The third main battle corps was attacked by the Sunagakure puppet troops, and the battle was deadlocked. The situation in the Land of Rain is not very optimistic. Although Konoha has secured Kumogakure, and Kumogakure has also secured Kurigakure, Konoha still has to play 1 against 2. The battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain is the territory of Omegakure village and has home field advantage, and because there are no other enemies in Sunagakure village, the Kingdom of Wind does not compete with the Country of Fire borders, and without the fear of being attacked by the enemy, the village of Sunagakure almost came out of its nest. It is worth mentioning that during this period of time, the S Division implemented the guerrilla warfare plan in the Land of Wind, and indeed achieved some results, but without the mass base, it was difficult for Hitachi Taishuo to cause too much damage to Sunagakure. Guerrilla warfare is a method of warfare that requires a long period of use to highlight its effects. The time is still too short. Hitachi Taishuo has spent more than a month in the country of people, and spent most of his time evading encirclement and suppression. Sunagakure village has formed a strong team, and with the cooperation of ninjas from various strongholds, they continue to pursue the guerrilla team led by Hatake Taishuo. After Hatake Sakumo finished speaking, Luhan signaled that he could speak at will, and Kaharu Udatane immediately rushed to speak. Iwagakure is the key, as long as you form an alliance with Iwagakure. Let them send troops into the country of rain, and you can immediately reverse Konoha's disadvantage in the country of rain. Kaharu Udatane glanced at everyone, and then glanced at Luhan again. That's right. Hyuga Huyang followed, but I was afraid that Iwagakure would not agree to send troops. At the beginning of this ninja war, Iwagakure had troops stationed in the country of rain, but after years of wars, let Iwagakure realize that the land of rain is a quagmire, plus the threat that Kumogakure brings to them. I guess, Iwagakure is allied with us, at most, to help us contain Kumogakure, which is most in line with their etiquette. After all, Kumogakure will take the initiative hit them, and Sunagakure Omegakure won't. I agree with Huyang. Homura Mitokado adjusted his glasses, then looked at Kaharu Udatane and shook his head. Actually, we don't just have to think about allies. Inuzuka said tearfully, for us Konoha, the biggest problem now is that there are too many enemies. Sunagakure, Omegakure, Kumogakure, Kurigakure. Kurigakure still has multiple legions, and the strength not to be underestimated. It is our potential enemy. Quote. Inuzuka is in charge of defense and always thinks about who will fight Konoha, so that's why he said this. Opinions, and there was no reason to discuss it. The attitude of Kumogakure and Iwagakure was unclear. Kaharu Udatane quarreled with Uchiha Leiyang again, because Kaharu Udatane said something that could benefit Iwagakure, and was scolded by Uchiha Leiyang. Cough, it's alright. Luhan coughed lightly. The chaotic venue immediately fell silent. Actually, we still have a way to go. Luhan sat up straighter and tapped his fingers on the table. We formed an alliance with Iwagakure, but Iwagakure may not be willing to help us. They are concerned about Kumogakure, and we are also suffering. The threat of Kumogakure, for fear of them coming back, so we can actually form an alliance with Kumogakure. It solves a lot of problems. Quote. As soon as Luhan's voice fell, the silence of the needle in the conference room could be heard. Kaharu Udatane, Uchiha Leiyang, etc. all stared at Luhan. Inuzuka Lei, Hyuga Huyang, Homura Mitokado, etc., all frowning. Suddenly, there were many strange expressions in the conference room. The atmosphere is weird. Is there something wrong? Luhan asked while scanning the crowd. I'm afraid it's very difficult, right? Kaharu Udatane said. In fact, she wanted to point out Luhan's nose and scolded. Wonderful, but Luhan is no longer the Luhan he used to be. As the current leader of Konoha, Kaharu Udatane is naturally impossible. I'm rude to Luhan in public. It's impossible. Inuzuka is very disrespectful. He is such a character. 3 generations of Reikage is a very stubborn person. What he believes will never be easily changed. Since he regards Konoha as an enemy, he will not maybe suddenly agreeing to an alliance. Kumogakure is more powerful than us at Konoha from a strategic point of view, and if we bring up an alliance, 9 times out of 10 they will ask for money again. Quote. Lord Lei is right, Hyuga Huyang also said, with a rather cautious look. Once, before Lord Hokage disappeared, over the past few years, Lord Hokage fought against Reikage, the 3rd generation. In fact, Lord Hokage also hoping to make an alliance with Kumogakure, but since the duel has never been decided, I has never agreed. Quote. Chapter-701-4_Pigmate. More than 20 people, except for the most important ones, did not speak, and it was not their turn to speak, because their attitudes on this matter were basically the same. That is, they were not optimistic, impossible. Even Uchiha Leiyang hesitated to speak. Kumogakure village is a martial art ninja village. They are belligerent, since the 2nd generation Hokage Senju Tobarama, the 2nd generation of Lord Hokage Senju Tobarama, after an accident happened with them, Kumogakure has not been with other people. The forces have formed an alliance. Moreover, The country of thunder has a special geographical location, and we, Konoha, are too busy to take care of ourselves and cannot threaten them, and the country of thunder has a special geographical location. The meeting room fell silent again. Except for the two stuffy gourds who didn't speak, everything else that should be said, naturally shut up. The atmosphere is a little weird, or a little embarrassing. Because no one at the top of Konoha agrees with Luhan's proposal. This is embarrassing. Luhan is not embarrassed, they are all embarrassed for Luhan. Actually, it's not completely impossible. Homura Mitokado, one of the suffocating gourds, habitually held up his glasses. The lenses flashed brightly. As long as Lord Hengwang invites Hokage to fight and defeat him, it is possible to form an alliance. Silent. What Homura Mitokado said was all nonsense that no one could answer. He only had a duel 10 days ago, and it was precisely because Hongwang didn't win that he gave Konoha such a great sense of threat. What would he say if he won? Luhan looked at the group of ninjas around the conference table, and focused his attention on the other White Fang, the gourd. He didn't respond, didn't say a word, and didn't seem to agree. He doesn't know. Luhan was a little puzzled. Whether White Fang knew that Luhan had defeated Lao Ai, Luhan didn't know, and he never asked him, because White Fang was the strictest and best kept secret, so Luhan never worried that White Fang would mess up. Say. It's settled, I'll send someone to Kumogakure village to discuss the alliance. Luhan decided. No, Lord Hengwang, think twice. Kaharu Udatane jumped out again to sing the opposite. Luhan is a little impatient. This Kaharu Udatane is just looking for trouble, can it be successful or not? What's the problem? Luhan asked with a glance. Let's not talk about whether we can form an alliance, in fact, it's okay to try it. Kaharu Udatane said solemnly, but Lord Hengwang must understand that once Iwagakure knows that we are trying to form an alliance with Kumogakure, Iwagakure will inevitably turn against us, and then we will fight with us. Kumogakure failed to form an alliance and lost Iwagakure as an ally. Makes sense. Not only other people nodded, Luhan also nodded. This is a point worth noting, but it was neglected before. Then, Luhan pondered for a while. I sent people to Kumogakure and made a secret agreement with them. Although the third generation of Hokage is scheming, he is bright and upright, and he would not deliberately release news if he wants to. Lord Hengwang. Kaharu Udatane clapped the table and stood up suddenly. She couldn't bear it any longer. You know you can't do anything, why do you insist on doing it? You don't fight for your close ally, but you fight for Kumogakure. What exactly do you want to do? I've made up my mind. Luhan's voice was heavy. This matter must be tried. You, Kaharu Udatane's hair fluttered in anger, and she used her peripheral vision to pay attention to the expressions of everyone present, and she couldn't help but feel a little disheartened. No more voting. Kaharu Udatane could see that in this matter, although others were not optimistic about Hengwang's proposal, they basically would not object to Hengwang's decision to send someone to try it. Hengwang's control over Konoha's core has been so strong. Kaharu Udatane alone to strongly disagree. Today's meeting is here for the time being. Luhan ignored Kaharu Udatane and glanced at everyone. If you have no other questions, then leave. I'm going to meet the Iwagakure mission. After speaking, Luhan stood up first. Wait a minute, Lord Hengwang. Uchiha Leiyang said suddenly. Oh, Luhan looked at Uchiha Leiyang in surprise, and the other ninjas who were about to get up also looked at him, and then they all sat down again. What's your proposal? Luhan sat down and asked. Cough cough. Uchiha Leiyang cleared his throat, got up very formally, looked around the crowd, and spoke in a cadence. I think a country can't be without a name, and a village can't be without a shadow. Uchiha Leiyang's current words are actually very smooth. During a total war, if there is no absolute leader, there will be a problem of chaotic management and conflicting orders. The so-called upside and downside effect. If the core decision-making level of Konoha cannot enforce the order and prohibition, the following will be even more unbearable. As soon as Uchiha Leiyang opened his mouth, the expressions of everyone present changed, including Lu Han. Many people looked at Lu Han and guessed that Uchiha Lei Young raised this sensitive question because of Han Guang's inspiration. Lu Han really wanted to shout that he was wronged. It wasn't me, it wasn't me. Lu Han even had the heart to strangle Uchiha and Lei Young. He was a pig teammate. Therefore, I propose that Hokage be elected. Uchiha Lei Young finally said loudly, over the years, Lord Hengguang has poured blood for Konoha, and has made countless merits. Lord Hengguang is also powerful. He once killed 3 generations of Kazekage, alone. He broke the record of Kurigakure village and was ranked the strongest, and during the period when Lord Hengguang was in power, Konoha gradually got out of the quagmire. Nominate Lord Hengguang as the only candidate for the seat of Hokage. After Uchiha Lei Young finished speaking, everyone turned to look at Han Guang and swiped in unison. Cough. Lu Han coughed lightly and said lightly, I am the party involved, I can't express my position on this matter, you say. No, Koharu Udatane immediately objected, Mr. Hokage's life or death is uncertain, it's too early to elect Hokage. Yes, Homura Mitokado also said, we don't even know whether Lord Hokage is alive or dead. Besides, there is no management chaos in the village at present. The election of Hokage is very important and should not be taken lightly. While the others were speaking, Lu Han kept looking at Uchiha Lei Young with cold eyes. He really wanted to ask Uchiha Lei Young, are you a pig? Chapter-701-5_Old Purple. Lu Han never thought of taking the position of Hokage at this time, because the timing was not right. Being Hokage means he will have absolute power. Although Lu Han has a lot of power now, at the very least, he can't even replace the commander of the main battle legion at will. Many important decisions must be supported by a certain number of votes before they can be implemented. However, Lu Han was very satisfied with the current situation. He already holds great power, so why is there a need for quick success? And Uchiha Lei Young's assertion of bringing this up without authorization is likely to backfire. What is the current situation? For Konoha to form an alliance with the outside world. Konoha is not stable enough. The alliance has not yet been established, the front line of the Kingdom of Rain is at a disadvantage, and Konoha has 2 potential enemies, Kumogakure and Kurigakure. In this case, it is only whimsical to choose Hokage. How to get the leaders of the main battle legions to give up their frontline command and come back to participate in the election. Sarutobi Hiruzen has been missing for less than 2 months, is there such a hurry? Lu Han is indeed already very prestige. But how much has Sarutobi Hiruzen's influence in Konoha village diminished? The timing is not right, and if you mention it rashly, it will definitely arouse suspicion. Lu Han originally planned that after the alliance with Kumogakure and Iwagakure was finalized, Konoha's situation would be completely improved, and then we will bring it up again. At that time, Lu Han will be the hero who saves Konoha and embarrassed. Lu Han's ability in force, management, diplomacy, etc. will be widely recognized, and will not allow others to question. But now that you mention it, can you get absolute support? Uchiha Lei Young is a pig teammate, a real pig. Are you blind? Even if you don't think about it so much that your head is hot, are you blind? Didn't you just see me clashing with Koharu Udatane? Don't you see that no one else approves of my proposal? Is your Mangekyo Sharingan a decoration? Lu Leng coldly stared at Uchiha Lei Young. Uchiha Lei Young looked a little hairy. He could see that Lu Han was in a wrong mood, and he was a little confused. Wrong. The current situation is tense, and it is indeed not suitable to hold elections. Inuzuka said in tears. Stop looking at other people's opinions. Even with the support of Hatake Sakumo and Hyuga, who didn't speak, there is no advantage in numbers. Koharu Udatane, Homura Mitokado, and Inuzuka tears are too heavy. In fact, Lu Han can use might to ascend to the position of Hokage, but Konoha there are bound to be cracks inside. If Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly came back, what would happen to Lu Han? It is because of these considerations that Lu Han needs absolute support, so that even if Sarutobi Hiruzen comes back, he will only be the third-generation Hokage who has abdicated. Okay. Luhan didn't wait for the next one to speak, and said directly, "We will discuss this matter when there is a suitable opportunity in the future, and the meeting will be dismissed." Hokage Building. After some preparations, Luhan, White Fang and Kaharu Udatane met with the Iwagakure mission. On the ground, White Fang was the captain of Anbu and used to make up the front. He didn't need to speak when he stood aside, and brought Kaharu Udatane with him. Although Han had conflicts with Kaharu Udatane before, Kaharu Udatane was full of firepower when it came to negotiation. It was her first time to meet with the Iwagakure mission. And, Kaharu Udatane was desperate to broker an alliance. Luhan also didn't want to give up Iwagakure as an ally. This time, Iwagakure envoy to Konoha, a total of 18 people came, and the scale is not large. This also shows the eagerness of Iwagakure village. If you want to get to Konoha quickly, naturally you have to have fewer people. It is slow and easy to be detected by the enemy. Luhan understood that Iwagakure was eager to form an alliance at the moment, because after Kumogakure retreated, it would pose a great threat to Iwagakure. No one could say whether Lao I would send troops again, and who would send troops to fight again. There were a total of 5 people who entered the hall to negotiate with Luhan, the first and second messengers, plus 3 guards called followers. The envoy led by the Iwagakure mission is a young man in his 20s. He looks no older than White Fang, and is estimated to be comparable to Tsunade, Jiraiya and others. Yuhi has Yuhi beard and is short, maybe only 1 meter 5. Tall, but handsome in appearance, wearing a purple robe with extraordinary bearing. With such a young man as the messenger, negotiating such an important matter as forming an alliance is naturally not an ordinary person. Very unusual. Luhan knew him. Jinchuriki column force of the Iwagakure village in the land of the earth, purple. It's old purple. The Chan Oil character in the original work received a box lunch as soon as he appeared. In the original work, Laozi was about 50 years old when he died, but in this world, in Konoha's 35 years, he was in his 20s, and he had not yet betrayed Iwagakure. Become a wandering monk. The village of Iwagakure even sent out Jinchuiki column forces, which shows that they attach great importance to this alliance. Yoden lava style. If he hadn't been restrained by Suiten water style, it is estimated that he would not have easily lost to Kisame Hoshigaki. Luhan was very curious about Laozi's strength at this time, but since this guy is not Yuhi's name, Luhan had no way of knowing Akatsuki. Lord Hangwang, I finally see you. You are as young as the legends say. Laozi, who saw Luhan, was excited. I wanted to visit you in Konoha for a long time, but I never had the chance. Make the task. Ahaha, I didn't expect Tsuchikage to send the force of Jinchuriki column. It really surprised me, Luhan said with a smile. The atmosphere at the beginning of the negotiation was very harmonious, because it was a matter of negotiating an alliance. The two sides were naturally polite to each other, and there was no smell of gunpowder. Lord Hangwang, you really answered that sentence, a hero as a boy. Laozi was a little too enthusiastic. Not only Kaharu Udatane was surprised, but also several Iwagakure ninjas who accompanied Laozi, all with strange expressions on their faces. Damn it, this guy doesn't worship me, right? Luhan was shocked. Although Laozi is only a small character, he is the Jinchuriki column force of the four-tailed person. The four-tailed Sun Wukong is on him, and he will betray Iwagakure in the future. Luhan's mind couldn't help but come alive. Laozi betrayed Iwagakure not because of any conflict, but because of disagreement with Onoki's philosophy. The alliance talks have officially started. Laozi put away the excited look and became serious. As usual, he first talked about the general situation of the world, and then went to the main topic. This time I am here, with a handwritten document from Lord Tsuchikage, and the matter of forming an alliance it will be finalized immediately. If you have no doubts, I can represent Tsuchikage Lord and formally form an alliance with you immediately. Lord Tsuchikage hopes that you can mobilize your forces to strike the land of thunder together. Chapter-701-6-Get Over Here. Laozi is not only the messenger of Iwagakure village, but also represents the third generation of Tsuchikage Onoki. From Laozi's remarks, Luhan felt that Onoki had already planned to send troops to invade the Land of Thunder. The hatred between Iwagakure and Kumogakure is too deep. They have fierce confrontation before and after the two ninja world wars. It can be said that it is the hatred of generations. If there is no such hatred, Laowai and 10,000 Iwagakure ninjas fought bloody for 3 days and 3 nights, and finally died of exhaustion in the original book. Okay. Before Luhan said anything, Kaharu Udatane spoke impatiently first. We also have this intention. The alliance should be completed as soon as possible, that is. Kaharu Udatane paused again and glanced at Luhan. What doubts does Lord Kaharu Udatane have? Laozi asked. You said, Tsuchikage wants us to send troops to attack the country of thunder with us, but I'm afraid not. Kaharu Udatane said, at present, we Konoha have been unable to deploy more troops, and all the major Konoha legions have been invested in the country of rain, Tsuchikage. Conditions, we may not be able to agree to it. Quote. This way. Laozi pondered for a while, then raised his head and said, Lord Tsuchikage has also explained to me, considering your current situation, you can refrain from troops, but you need to form a certain restraint on Kumogakure. Kumogakure the village once invaded the country of our soil and looted it, and we Iwagakure will avenge this revenge. Quote. Lord Hangwang. Laozi put his eyes on Luhan again. With your strength, you can deter Kumogakure with just a little movement. You won't object to this condition, will you? Luhan could see that Laozi didn't expect Konoha to send troops at all. This is negotiation skill. Laozi made an excessive request first, but Konoha refused to agree, and he made another not excessive request. Should he agree? No, Luhan refused. The old purple complexion changed. This alliance should be the most reasonable arrangement under the premise of mutual benefit. Luhan said with a blank face, you should be clear that Konoha has formed an alliance with you in the hope that you can help us solve the country of rain. The danger of the battlefield, likewise, we will solve the danger posed by the village of Kumogakure for you. Quote. Lord Hangwang means. Laozi's face was already very ugly, he knew what Luhan was going to say. Therefore, in order to facilitate this alliance, we must all make concessions. Luhan said, I can contain and deter Kumogakure village for you, and you need to send troops to the country of rain to fight with us against the Sunagakure and Omegakure coalition forces. Lord Hangwang, if this is the case, how can you guarantee that Kumogakure village will not take the opportunity to attack the land of earth? Laozi was a little excited. I can't guarantee it, Luhan said, but once this happens, I will stop it. But this way, Laozi began to explain the facts to Luhan, analyze the pros and cons. Akatsuki moved it with reason and emotion, over and over again, probably meaning that Iwagakure suffered a loss. If allied in this way, Konoha will surely be out of the current crisis, but Iwagakure will be threatened by 2 enemies. Luhan's attitude was tough, so he formed an alliance in this way, otherwise it would be fine. Kaharu Udatane never interrupted, because what Luhan said was in Konoha's best interest. Kaharu Udatane just objected to Luhan's attempt to form an alliance with Kumogakure, because if Iwagakure knew about that, Iwagakure would definitely turn his face, and Iwagakure must send troops to the country of rain. Kaharu Udatane also strongly agrees with this. The two sides quarreled for nearly an hour, and finally Luhan issued an expulsion order. Since you can't decide this matter, then go back and ask Tsuchikage and see what he has to say. Laozi and the others left in disappointment. Naturally, they did not leave Konoha, but the Hokage building. Under the escort of Anbu Ninja, they returned to their temporary residence. Laozi decided to stay for the time being and sent a message to Iwagakure village. The matter of forming an alliance is very important. Of course, it does not mean giving up. Before Konoha faced the pressure brought by Kumogakure and Kurigakure, he took the initiative to seek an alliance with Iwagakure, but now it is different. Iwagakure faced the threat brought by Kumogakure. Konoha allies. Just 3 days later, the Iwagakure ninja who went back to spread the news rushed back to the village of Iwagakure, explained the situation to Tsuchikage, the third generation, and presented a secret letter from Laozi. After reading the letter, Onoki frowned, and immediately called a high-level meeting to discuss the matter. In fact, it is better for Iwagakure to send troops to the country of rain than to be beaten by Kumogakure. Because the main army of Konoha is in the country of rain, the Konoha army and Iwagakure army are fighting against the Sunagakure and Omegakure allied forces, and the overall strength is stronger in Muin. If Iwagakure is to face Kumogakure alone, Iwagakure's pressure is too great. Then again, what if Kumogakure doesn't fight the land of soil? Are they going to fight Konoha? Or, what if Kumogakure took advantage of the emptiness to enter after Kumogakure sent troops to the land of rain? Situation was so complicated that anything could happen, so it was difficult for Onoki to make a decision. The land of thunder, Kumogakure village. On the hanging square built by relying on the mountain wall, Lao-ai was walking like a dragon, punching and kicking frequently. He practiced punching and kicking without using chakra. Although he lost to Lu Han that day, Lao-ai did not languish because of it. It is the kind of person who will not admit defeat, and will never bow his head. What's more, Lao-ai didn't feel that he really lost to Han Guang, because he was defeated by his own attack and was tricked by Han Guang. There are many people around the square, including Kumogakure Anbu's guards, as well as some powerful masters and strong men. Watching Lao-ai's practice is one of their daily activities. Many talented ninjas will watch Lao-ai's practice after training. All comprehension. Xiao-ai walked out of the stone gate of the cave and saw Lao-ai at a glance. She immediately shrank her neck, leaned against the stone wall, and walked furtively towards the distant stone stairs. Bastard, stop! Lao-ai shouted angrily when he saw Xiao-ai. Xiao-ai froze in place. What's the matter with you, kid? Why are you always avoiding me lately? Lao-ai glared at his son and beckoned. Come here, I haven't seen you cultivating recently, you'll be lazy if you don't supervise you, come. Let's make a gesture, to see if you have grown. Oops, my stomach is uncomfortable. Xiao-ai clutched her stomach and wanted to run. Come here, Lao-ai shouted with a black face. Chapter-701-720 Step Back. Lao-ai knows too well what his son is. From Xiao-ai's guilty expression, Lao-ai can tell that Xiao-ai must be hiding from him because of something, and naturally he has a bad face. Isn't this kid a waste of practice and shameless? It is estimated that, there is a good show to watch. But then again, he was injured and recuperated for nearly a month. Even if his strength has declined, it is reasonable. Many ninjas watching the fun in the square made jokes. They were basically ninjas about the same age as Lao-ai. They were not afraid of Xiao-ai. Even if Xiao-ai was stronger than most of them now, they were watching Xiao-ai grow up. The big one is Xiao-ai's uncle. Seeing Lao Su's anger, Xiao-ai knew that she could not escape today, so she walked slowly to the middle of the square. Hearing his uncles and uncles making fun of them, Xiao-ai didn't dare to refute except for his aggrieved expression. They are all elders, and they are all old brothers who accompanied Lao-ai from birth to death for decades. Xiao-ai is half short in front of them no matter how strong he is. Come on, don't be dawdling, why are you acting like a woman? When Lao-ai saw Xiao-ai walking slowly, he reprimanded him again. Forget it, he might really have a stomachache, ha ha ha. A sturdy ninja who was older than Lao-ai said. It sounded like he was helping Xiao-ai, but the last laugh, it's more like making fun of Xiao-ai's acting too fake. Xiao-ai couldn't help staring at the man and whispered, you talk too much. You're good at it, right? Where are you still dawdling? Lao-ai said angrily, suddenly burst into flames, turned into lightning and rushed towards Xiao-ai. Hu Shan's big palm grabbed Xiao-ai's collar. Xiao-ai was scared and dodged, and at the same time, his whole body was shocked, and lightning flashed around him. Lao-ai had already rushed in front of Xiao-ai, and he held Xiao-ai down, but saw that Xiao-ai's body was full of thunder, and in an instant, he saw him and pulled away from Lao-ai. Lao-ai was surprised and stopped. Although he didn't show his full strength, he just grabbed at will, but he could still feel the change in Xiao Ai's speed. Lao Ai stared at Xiao Ai, then he laughed again. Not bad, ha ha ha, as expected of my son, he has grown. Lao Ai became complacent and looked around, as if to say, how is my son? Isn't my son amazing? Oops, the little guy has improved again. I've made progress, why are you still guilty? Sure enough, he is indeed the super genius of Kumovikar village once in 100 years. There was a rush of flattery in the square. Come on, let me check it out. Lao Ai waved to Xiao Ai again, don't hide it. Father, I'm really uncomfortable. Xiao Ai was still looking for a reason. He was really afraid that Lao Ai would find out his change. Come on, don't linger. You hid so fast just now, what's wrong with you? Xiao Ai had no choice but to bite the bullet. The two came to the middle of the square and stood opposite each other. Remember when I tested you last time? I showed 20% of your strength, and you persisted for an hour before you lost. Lao Ai said to Xiao Ai, I won't embarrass you this time, and I even showed 20% of your strength. If you can hold on for an hour and a half, even if you pass the exam. Quote. Okay, Xiao Ai reluctantly responded. Come on. Lao Ai reminded him, and then suddenly burst out. The mountain-like momentum pressed towards Xiao Ai, and instantly rushed to Xiao Ai, punching him hard. Seeing the tricks, Xiao Ai fought with Lao Ai bow. There was a roar of applause around, and each time Lao Ai and Xiao Ai discussed each other, it was extremely exciting. Although Lao Ai suppressed his strength, his combat experience could not be suppressed. Xiao Ai is not bad either. After all, Kumovikar ranks in the top 10. There are a large group of onlookers who are cheering and booing, but few are Xiao Ai's opponents. The speed of this kid has really gotten faster. Lao Ai and Xiao Ai fought each other for a moment, and they were extremely relieved. Xiao Ai knew that he was suffering. In order to prevent Lao Ai from seeing the flaws, he had suppressed his speed and changed his ability to strength tendency, but he was used to speed before. This kind of change made him very uncomfortable. Adapting, there are some feelings that can't be changed. After the two played for more than 10 minutes, Lao Ai saw the problem. Because Xiao Ai has been unable to resist, as if his fists and feet have deteriorated, and flaws are frequently exposed. What's going on with this kid? Is it really uncomfortable? Lao Ai thought to himself, but instead of showing mercy, he attacked even more fiercely. Xiao Ai didn't know much, but Lao Ai hit him on the knee, and suddenly staggered. Lao Ai seized the opportunity, grabbed Xiao Ai's arm and threw it over his shoulder, put him on the ground, and held him with his backhand. Lao Ai didn't even have a big move, so he subdued Xiao Ai. There was an uproar in the square. What's the matter? It seems that the strength has regressed. Is it really a waste of practice? Is it because you've been in Konoha too long? Hey, it's not going to be a plateau, is it? Then, that's the end of it. The so-called platform period is actually a way of saying that it is a bottleneck. Many super geniuses in the world of ninja in history have had a platform period, and some have not crossed it, and have stopped moving forward for life. The plateau period is a very scary situation, but if Xiao Ai really encounters this situation, don't worry too much, because he is still young. Old Ai thought that Xiao Ai was really feeling unwell, but when he listened to the discussion, his face turned black. What the hell is going on with you, kid? Lao Ai picked up Xiao Ai and roared loudly, if I don't stare at you for a day, you will be lazy and slippery, and you won't even be able to use your fists. How can you inherit Raikage's legacy in the future? Lao Ai doesn't give any face at all. He loves his son, and because he is willing to enter the Kurigakure Corps alone and return injured, the way he disciplines Xiao Ai can be described as simple and rude. The face of Xiao Ai, who was reprimanded in public, had turned purple hue, and she retorted excitedly, I'm not being lazy. That's not the case. Xiao Ai regretted it a little. Why didn't she show her true skills? In that case, even if his father finds out that he has changed, it will not be more embarrassing than being reprimanded in public now. Chapter 0718 _ What if I win? Xiao Ai looked at her father with dissatisfaction, and seemed even more angry than Lao Ai. Okay, it's against you. Lao Ai laughed angrily and waved his hand. Come on, take it down for me, throw it into the dungeon, and let him calm down for me. No, Lord Hokage, the little guy is young and energetic, you can. Forget it, he stayed in Konoha for a month. He was seriously injured and his strength has deteriorated, which is understandable. All calm down, father and son have something to talk about. Why did this? The older Kumogakure powerhouses all tried to persuade them. Although they teased and ridiculed Xiao Ai before, they didn't really look down on him. Instead, they loved him very much. On the one hand, it is because this is a contradiction between the father and son, and they all think that Lao Ai is saying angry words. On the other hand, it is also the consequence of Lao Ai paving the way for Xiao Ai for many years, which makes Xiao Ai, who is only 18 years old, second only to Lao Ai in the prestige in Konoha village. Okay, you bastards. Lao Ai was also in a hurry. If you don't do it, I will do it myself. I don't believe it, he can turn the sky over. In a rage, Lao Ai rushed to Xiao Ai, wanting to take Xiao Ai and send him into the dungeon by himself. Eyes were full of Yuhi, was willing to obediently grab it, turned around and ran, with a sonic boom in an instant, the speed exceeded the speed of sound, and sprinted directly to the edge of the square, but he still couldn't get rid of Lao Ai. Lao Ai followed him like a shadow, grabbed with big hands to Xiao Ai's shoulder. Xiao Ai dodged sideways in an instant, her footsteps continuously changing like shadows, and she actually went around Lao Ai's side. This square is built halfway up the mountain, and the edge is empty. Xiao Ai avoids Lao Ai and wants to jump down, but Lao Ai grabs Xiao Ai's ankle like a thunderbolt, and then his arm is rounded. Toss. Xiao Ai flew over half of the square and was thrown in the middle of the square, but because he was in Raiden Thunder style chakra mode, he did not fall. Lao Su taught his son, and everyone else stayed far away. It was not their turn to point fingers at this kind of thing. Xiao Ai got up from the middle of the square and looked at her father with grief and indignation. What a shame. In addition to discussing, Lao Ai has not taught Xiao Ai a lesson in public for many years. After all, Xiao Ai is an adult, and Lao Ai knows it is not appropriate to do so. Forget it, forget it. Forget it. An elderly Kumogakure strong man with high status and detachment stood up to make peace. He was afraid that the father and son would become estranged because of today's incident. But Lao Ai didn't listen to what he said, but stared at Xiao Ai with a very strange expression. Just now, Xiao Ai almost avoided Lao Ai's pursuit. In the end, Lao Ai used 50% of his strength in one fell swoop before he caught Xiao Ai and threw him out. This made Lao Ai a little unbelievable, and even suspected that it was an illusion. What happened to you just now? Are you hiding your strength from me? Lao Ai asked. Xiao Ai was panting heavily, looking at Lao Ai with bloodshot eyes, thinking about it in his heart before he nodded. If you don't show your true skills, you're not so unbearable, so it's a hidden strength. Come on, don't hide it with me, I'll still show 20% of my strength. If you can't hold on for an hour, then go to the dungeon for me to reflect on it. Lao Ai flickered to the middle of the square again. Before Xiao Ai could answer, she ran away again. Xiao Ai wanted to prove herself very much. This time, without waiting for Lao Ai to rush in front of her, she moved to increase the speed to ultimate and took the initiative to rush to Lao Ai. As soon as the two approached, Lao Ai punched Xiao Ai in the face like a cannonball. He suppressed his strength, so this punch would not break Xiao Ai's defense. The consequence of the hit was that Xiao Ai flew out. Xiao Ai met the fist without dodging, and at the same time slapped Lao Ai's eyes with his palms. A close call. Lao Ai's fist was about to hit Xiao Ai, but Xiao Ai swayed and flicked to Lao Ai's side. His previous arm swing was just a feint move. Both fists hit Lao Ai's waist. Lao Ai was shocked. He didn't expect his son to be so fast, and tried to wave his arms to block it, but he didn't expect that Xiao Ai's double punches were also a false move, but he saw him quickly slap his waist, dodging Lao Ai's arms at the same time. Slammed his feet, turned his body sideways, and slammed his shoulders against Lao Ai. Lao Ai was hit and flew out, tumbling more than 20 meters in the air, and then somersaulted to the ground. The needle drop could be heard for a moment in the square. Xiao Ai does not have Lao Ai with 20% strength in the war, but he knocked Lao Ai flying in one round, which is enough to prove his strength. Lao Ai with 20% strength is not his opponent at all. Incredible. Lao Ai's expression was serious, staring at Xiao Ai, as if re-examining his son. Okay, come again. Lao Ai waved his arms again, opened his posture, and said with a serious face, this time I will use 25% of my strength. If you can persist for 3 minutes, I will protect your grandfather's protection. Arm for you. Xiao Ai's grandfather, who was also Lao Ai's father, left the pair of arm guards and considered treasures. The arm guards used by Xiao Ai are imitations of those arm guards. What if I win? Xiao Ai said with a stubborn neck, still full of dissatisfaction. Hey, Lao Ai sneered, you want to run before you learn to walk. Come on. The father and son were violent at the same time, and the speed of Lao Ai, who took out 25% of his strength, has been significantly improved. After all, compared with 20% of his strength, that is a quarter more. Two got close again. This time, Xiao Ai was unable to establish an absolute advantage in one round. The two of you fought extremely well. Lao Ai had an absolute advantage in strength, while Xiao Ai was in speed. The skills are more brilliant. The two sides fought fiercely for half a minute, but Xiao Ai still showed no sign of defeat, but instead became more and more brave. There were constant applause around, and many people were saying that Xiao Ai was out of order at first, but her strength has really grown. But Lao Ai didn't think so, because he found a problem. What's the matter with you? Your fists have no power at all. What's the use of being soft-handed and playing tricks? Lao Ai roared while fighting, and he finally discovered Xiao Ai's secret, bastard. You don't follow what I said. Practice. Xiao Ai didn't say a word, and attacked Lao Ai in a false way. Han Guang once said to him that if you keep it for a long time, you will lose it. At present, Xiao Ai takes the initiative, and he is looking for Lao Ai's flaws. Chapter-701-9 Who did you learn from? Although Lao Ai was angry and knew that Xiao Ai had changed the direction of cultivation without authorization, he did not immediately end the fight because he wanted to know how much Xiao Ai had changed and whether he could change it. In the eyes of Lao Ai, Xiao Ai has gone astray. Although this change has temporarily improved Xiao Ai, if this path is not suitable for him, he will encounter a plateau soon after the promotion, and it will be too late to regret it. Ai is very sad. He didn't expect that his son would hide such a big thing from him, and he finally understood why Xiao Ai kept hiding from him these days, probably because he was afraid of seeing how he looked when he was cultivating. Are you going to fight? Lao Ai continued to roar, heavier your fist. You don't have any strength at all. If you are like this, even if I stand and let you fight, you can't hurt me in the slightest. Xiao Ai was unmoved. He can't change it anymore. If he is forced to change it. He has tried it before, but it will become clumsy and full of flaws. The two fought for nearly 10 minutes. Lao Ai only hit Xiao Ai a few times, and each time, due to the angle problem, he could not exert his full strength. Xiao Ai has been dodging with the advantage of speed. Not a lot. He has hit Lao Ai at least 100 punches, but because of the problem of punching power, let alone breaking Lao Ai's defense, he can't even make Lao Ai retreat. As Lao Ai said, Xiao Ai is really soft-handed, and his attack power is not as good as before. Did you hear me? Lao Ai roared, what's the use of dodging? As he spoke, a stern figure with a knife appeared in Lao Ai's mind. Cold light. Xiao Ai's current style of play has a bit of Han Guang flavor, that is, Xiao Ai's attack is too weak, which is far worse than Han Guang's waterfall knife rain. Is it because when I was in Konoha, I chased down the cold light for too long, and was subtly affected by the cold light? No way. Even if it is affected, there are some similarities in dodging, and why are there some similarities in the style of play? I don't understand. What Lao Ai didn't know was that Xiao Ai was actually looking for opportunities. His attack wasn't so weak, but he didn't have the right opportunity. But I saw that the angry old eye bullied into Xiao Ai, with his arms wide open, one defending and one attacking. Great opportunity. A flash of light flashed in Xiao Ai's eyes, and he summoned chakra to hit both feet, and immediately jumped up and rushed to Lao Ai's chest. Lao Ai responded very quickly and punched Xiao Ai's abdomen, but Xiao Ai used his hands as a weapon. The knife hit Lao Ai's elbow in an instant, and Lao Ai's punching arm suddenly changed direction. Xiao Ai seized the opportunity to bully Lao Ai's arms directly, punching frequently, and instantly hit 23 punches, all at one point. When Lao Ai was shocked, he also seized the opportunity and raised his knee to hit Xiao Ai's abdomen. Xiao Ai did not dodge or dodge, the breath all over her body exploded directly to the apex. She pulled her arms and pointed her elbows forward. Recurrent storm. Boom _ While Lao Ai broke Xiao Ai's Raiden thunder style chakra mode with his knees, Xiao Ai hit Lao Ai's heart with a heavy flow. You must know that although Xiao Ai practiced turning speed, ninjutsu is a fixed ability. The power of the big move will not be weakened. Xiao Ai's blow directly shattered Lao Ai's Raiden thunder style armor with 25% of his strength, hitting the flesh between Lao Ai's chest. Lao Ai flew out like a cannonball. Crossed an extremely long arc in the air, flew 100 or 2 meters, and was about to fly out of the hanging square and fall. Of course Lao Ai would not let such a thing happen. Fully mobilized chakra, one flip, and another fall, and it landed on the edge of the square. Quiet. Many people in the square dropped their jaws in shock and looked dazed. Xiao Ai wins. He actually won 25% of the strength of the third generation of Hokage. 2 months ago, he couldn't even win against 20% of Lao Ai's strength. How could he have such a terrifying growth? Although Xiao Ai's Raiden thunder style chakra mode was also broken, he didn't fly out, indicating that Lao Ai's knee hit was not solid. However, even if Lao Ai flew that far, there was no serious injury, because although the Raiden thunder style armor was broken, Lao Ai's body was still activated, and its defense was still extremely strong. There was some pain in his chest, but Lao Ai didn't have the heart to care about it. He stared at his son with no expression on his face. Get out of here. Lao Ai raised his hand suddenly. The onlookers suddenly scattered. Lao Ai lost face. They were very afraid, for fear that Lao Ai would get angry. They just use them as sparring. If they are crazy, they want to be Lao Ai's sparring, they will vomit blood. Soon, only Lao Ai, Xiao Ai and his son were left in the square. Although Xiao Ai won the competition, she became guilty under Lao Ai's gaze and dared not look directly into Lao Ai's eyes. Answer me honestly. Lao Ai looked at his son. His voice was calm, but his eyes were burning. Who did you learn from? Lao Ai knows his son too well. He has taught Xiao Ai for more than 10 years, and he knows how much Xiao Ai's talents are. He knows that even if Xiao Ai decides to change the direction of cultivation on a whim, if there is no guidance, it is impossible to grow so fast and terrifying. A person groping for the practice alone, and someone guiding the practice, the gap is not an ordinary big. Otherwise, there would be no so-called teacher in this world. Thump. Xiao Ai knelt down directly, drooping her head and said, Father, I was wrong, it was Han Guang. The matter had come to this point. Xiao Ai could only tell the whole story and explain everything clearly. He was very guilty, because Lao Ai had taught him for 14 or 5 years. He gave up a lot and lost a lot for him. He went against Lao Ai's wishes and took a different path. He didn't know how sad his father would be. While Xiao Ai was telling Lao Ai about the situation, the village of Kumogakure, 50 miles to the west, is Rocky Yamanaka. It's coming soon. If we meet the Kumogakure scouts, we should show up too. After all, this time we are here to negotiate an alliance. Although it is difficult, we must at least give it a try. I'm afraid that Hokage, the third generation, will ask for money again, or propose a duel. Let's take one step at a time. The 3 figures, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, chatted anxiously and went straight to the village of Kumogakure. Chapter-720 What a big game of chess. As early as 3 days ago, under the arrangement of Luhan, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru quietly left Konoha and sent Kumogakure as an envoy in the name of supporting the secret mission of the Land of Rain. Luhan didn't tell anyone about this, mainly because there were too many voices against it. The Iwagakure mission was living in Konoha village again, for fear of any changes due to leaks. Luhan did not plan to go to Kumogakure village to negotiate with Lao Ai in person, for 2 reasons. First, it was inconvenient for him to leave Konoha village now. The war in the Land of Rain had started again, the situation was tense, and the Iwagakure mission was close at hand. If Luhan did not show up to Konoha for a few days, it would definitely cause suspicion and would be inconvenient for war scheduling. The second is that Luhan is worried that Lao Ai will not give face. He knows very well that Lao Ai is the kind of person who refuses to admit defeat. If he wins by tricks, he will definitely not be convinced. Asking for a duel, Luhan didn't want to be so troublesome. The reason why he sent Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru to come is mainly because Tsunade has enough weight. She is not only a medical saint, but also Luhan's wife. She can show Konoha's attention and sincerity to this matter. Tsunade has healed Xiao Ai, which will definitely win Lao Ai's favor, and Xiao Ai respects Tsunade. If he can help with a few words, that would be great. Kumogakure village, a hanging square halfway up the mountain. Lao Ai had already walked up to Xiao Ai. After listening to Xiao Ai's situation with a complicated face, Xiao Ai had already started to admit his mistake, saying that he had failed his father's teaching. Lao Ai was both relieved and sad to hear it. Fortunately, Xiao Ai concealed herself from herself, not only for fear of punishment, but also for being sad. Sadly, Xiao Ai has completely deviated from the growth path Lao Ai planned for him. Lao Ai wanted Xiao Ai to inherit his mantle, but now an irreversible mistake has occurred. Get up, Lao Ai said, and was silent again. Xiao Ai got up with a cautious look. Seeing that her father's face was constantly changing, the weather was uncertain, and she didn't dare to say anything. Hangguang, what are you thinking? Lao Ai said in his heart. He couldn't understand what Luhan wanted to do, so he took the initiative to point Xiao Ai. Was he trying to lead him astray? Or are you sincerely pointing out that you intend to close the relationship? Well-intentioned or malicious? What confuses Lao Ai the most is that Xiao Ai said that Hangguang had driven him many times and was unwilling to give more advice. Lao Ai didn't know that this was Luhan's hard-to-find tactics, so it was even more difficult for him to understand Luhan's intentions. Is my son really better at speed? Lao Ai's thoughts were complicated. He thought about it a lot. He thought about which aspect of his son was more talented, and also thought of the battle with Hangguang in the Valley of the End. There is no doubt that Xiao Ai is by no means going astray. If you suddenly change your fighting style, even if you understand something, you can't grow so much. You must be extremely talented, taught, and hard enough. All 3 are indispensable, otherwise Xiao Ai would not have changed so much. Cold light is kind. The Battle of the End Valley was unforgettable in Lao Ai's heart. This was the worst defeat in his life. Hangguang didn't kill him, and even claimed that it was a tie. This was an extremely obvious signal and a gesture of goodwill. But who dares to say that there is no conspiracy behind this? Old Ai feels tricky. Because he had never encountered a strong enemy like Hangguang, Hangguang's unconventional approach made Lao Ai not sure what Hangguang wanted to do. What a big game of chess. It's not a blessing for Kumogakure to have such an enemy at such a young age. Lao Ai looked at the clouds in the sky with his hands behind his back and thought about it for a long time. Xiao Ai never dared to move or speak, so she could only stand by and accompany her. The strong chakra fluctuations approached quickly, but saw a Kumogakure ninja flashing thunder light all over the body, rushing to the square along the winding stone stairs, and quickly arrived in front of Lao Ai. 10 miles away. Oh, Lao Ai was energized for a while, and after a moment of thought, he said, "Let Asoi bring people to meet them, slow down their entry into the village, and notify several advisors for an emergency meeting. Yes, the Kumogakur ninja took the lead and left quickly. Go to the treasure house and get the armguard, Lao Ai said to Xiao Ai, and disappeared from the square. There was only Xiao Ai left in the square. He let out a long breath and seemed very tired. Xiao Ai's mind was very simple. Lao Ai didn't blame him just now. He felt very relaxed, and immediately put the matter behind him and turned his attention to the pair of armguards. Just as Xiao Ai was about to leave the square, she seemed to suddenly feel something, turned her head in confusion, and looked at the stone gate of the cave on the side of the mountain wall. The stone door was half open, and a little boy of about 6 or 7 years old with pale yellow hair and bronze skin was looking out sneakily. Said, "Brother, have you been taught again? You kid gloat in misfortune." Xiao Ai glared at the little guy. How can I? How dare I? The little boy walked up to Xiao Ai with his shoulders in his arms, looking like a little adult, and flattered, "Are you going to the treasure house? Take me with you." No, Xiao Ai refused. Take me there, I'm going." The little boy grabbed Xiao Ai's clothes, swayed his body to play a rogue, and almost rolled on the ground. Xiao Ai couldn't help being troubled, and said angrily, "It's all right, I'll take you there, but you can't take things indiscriminately, and don't let others know." In fact, Xiao Ai does not object to the little boy going to the treasure house, but he is afraid of being trapped. This little guy is a jerk. He is none other than Xiao Ai's righteous brother, Killer Bee Jinchuriki, column force of Kumogakur village, named Killer Bee. This is not the first time Killer Bee has cheated on Xiao Ai, because he is young, and he is a Jinchuriki column force, and has high expectations. Lao Ai always can't bear to punish him, and is very partial, so once he does something wrong, as long as it is related to Xiao Ai, it is always Xiao Ai who is punished. I warn you, if you dare to take things indiscriminately, don't blame me for beating you. Xiao Ai put a big hand on Killer Bee's shoulder and took him to the treasure house, not forgetting to threaten him a few words.